session? Motion? Need a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Ryland, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I hand over the microphone to our attorney.
So the Board of Education would like me to give an update with regard to the mass mandate litigation. As probably most of you know, this week in Nassau County, a decision came down from the Supreme Court that the mass mandate was not legal because of the authority that the court believed that the Department of Health didn't have. Just going to remove this while I talk. With regard to instituting the mandate. With regard to an administrative rule as opposed to legislation from New York State. So as a result, it's my understanding, the district, as a result of that ruling, determined that masks would not be required today and would be optional. We did send advice to the district that there would likely be an application for a stay order, meaning that the governor and the Department of Health would apply to the appellate division, the next level of court review, to have the lower decision stayed, meaning not go into effect, so that the mask mandate would go back into effect. That happened today. There were oral arguments, and today, probably around 5 o'clock, while I was driving here, the court, the appellate division, issued a temporary stay, which is effective immediately, to Friday, when they could hear full arguments on the issue of the stay. So they gave a 2-day extension, meaning right now the mask mandates are back in effect. They'll decide issues on Friday and make a determination as to whether the stay will continue to be issued until a final determination of the merits can be heard. So at this juncture, based on what happened today, the mask mandates are back in effect. I mean, when a stay is issued, it's immediate. It's immediate.
We do have, some people didn't understand that. We do have extra masks in the lobby. We can have a security.
I just got one question. Is there an executive order document? Okay, I just want to ask that question. Is there an executive
Huh?
order in documentation that there is a mask mandate law?
So that is the issue being considered by the court, right? So that's the issue that's being decided by the court, and the Nassau County.
Okay, there's not going to be any order here, so we're not even voting.
Lisa, can we look into that resolution and try to do it at this moment?
You want to do that resolution
I'd like to
now?
call for a resolution.
Yes, the board has asked me to put together a resolution which indicates that effective Friday, to the extent the order is not extended, meaning the stay order is not extended, the district will immediately make mask wearing optional, correct?
Yes. Can I call for a vote, please? Or Lee, can you call for a vote?
So let me,
Let her finish first.
let me put the wording together, and then you can do that during the course maybe of your consent agenda. Are you
Okay.
comfortable with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Perfect, thank you, Lisa.
I am. Okay, we'll move to, will the district clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Murphy? Mrs. Mallon? Present. Mrs. Hutchinson? Mrs. Kennedy?
Present?
Present?
Dr. Adams? Present. Mrs. Napolitano Furno?
Present.
Mrs. Aguilas? Mr. Kohler-Hefar?
Present.
Mrs. Poppy?
Present.
And Mr. Hauser?
Present.
And myself, Ms. Kemp, the district clerk.
Motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. I call for a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the January 19th, 2022 Board of Ed meeting. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Let's move on to policy. I call for a motion to, and a second to approve the second reading and adoption of the policies as presented, 1400, 1420, 4000, 4010, 4317, 4318. Motion? Motion. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll move on to discussion items. Do we have any student government reports this evening?
Good evening. Student government will return to their annual tradition of PS I Love You Day. This nationwide event will take place on Friday, February 11th. On PS I Love You Day, we ask everyone to wear purple to stand up against bullying, help end depression, and ultimately prevent suicide. Student government will be running a fundraiser to sell shirts. These shirts will be purple t-shirts that say PS I Love You on the front and one step at a time on the back, this year's slogan. We do not have a definitive price, however, all proceeds will be donated towards suicide prevention. Furthermore, on the announcements in between periods during this day, we'll be sharing some messages to emphasize the importance of this day. Some of these announcements will read.
Please share positive messages that make others feel special, loved, and remind others that they are never alone. We encourage all students, faculty, and staff to wear purple on this day to support the cause. Mental health is extremely important after the past year of isolation due to the pandemic. This is something that student government believes is more important than ever before. Student government will be selling flowers for their annual flower sale on February 14th, Valentine's Day. Starting this week and moving until Thursday, Friday the 10th, student ambassadors will be selling flowers to Connect students. These flowers will be delivered on Valentine's Day and accompanied by positive messages for the recipient. These flowers are being sold in collaboration with the Anti-Bullying Club. The Anti-Bullying Club will be selling small bears in a package alongside the flowers. You can purchase this duo for $5.
Any questions?
Zach,
you.
they're going to be, can the community purchase these as well? Will there be a link on a website, or is it going to be only sold within the school
For the flowers or for the t-shirts?
for the t-shirts?
For the t-shirts, we're going to keep it only to the school. However, if a student wants to purchase them, you can send them in and we can provide that to them in some type of way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Okay, we're going to move on to fiscal stress and revenues and long-term planning presentation. Mr. Hauser and Mr. Allen.
Thank you. Good evening. The first part of the presentation is going to be about the 2022-23 school year budget. That school year will actually start this coming July 1st. At the end of the presentation, I'll show you a calendar of events that will take place between now and the actual budget vote in May, and then the start of that subsequent school year. So this part of my presentation, and I'll hand it over to Mr. Allen for his capital project presentation, is based on what the Office of the State Comptroller calls fiscal stress report that's issued to each school district annually. And then I also want to tie that into the revenues that the district receives as part of its budget, and then how we're also going to take a look at some of our reserves to actually support the budget. So next screen, please, Jesse, if you get a chance. Thank you. So like I said, annually, the Office of the State Comptroller evaluates each school district, and they evaluate them really for two items. One's called financial or fiscal stress, and the other one would be for what they call environmental stress. I'm just going to focus on the fiscal stress component, and I want to make this a positive presentation because, as you're going to see, the Connecticut School District, the rating that we have is very favorable. I'm not sure if everyone can see everything on the screen there, so I will do my best to try to explain some of the numbers and some of the information in case you can't see it. So the bottom line here is the Comptroller's Office has given us a fiscal stress rating of 6.67 out of a possible 100. Now, that might not sound so good to most of us when we think of school. That's a fairly low grade. But in the case of the Office of the State Comptroller, that's actually what they refer to as no designation. So in their words, they don't perceive the Connecticut School District to be under any significant fiscal stress. Okay, that would be a score of 65 to 100 if you were under significant fiscal stress. If you were under moderate fiscal stress, you would receive a score of 45 to 64.9. And if you were under what they call being susceptible to fiscal stress, you would receive a score of 25 to 44.9. So unfortunately, their terminology doesn't sound so favorable when they use the word no designation, but that's a score of 0 to 24.9. So obviously our 6.67 falls at the lower end of that range, which means we are not, I'll say, under fiscal stress. So that's a positive thing. They took a look at 5 conditions. One of them is our year-end fund balance. So as of this past June 30th, 2021, they took a snapshot of our audited financial statements. They also took a look at any chance of an operating deficit, which we do not operate in a deficit. They took a look at our cash, the amount of cash we have on hand, whether that be in bank accounts or different reserves. They take a look at our reliance on short-term debt, so money we have to borrow to operate the school district. And then they also take a look at our cash flow to pay back that debt. So like I said, the rating that we got is very favorable. And I will have this entire presentation, hopefully tomorrow, posted up on the district's website for anyone to take a look, okay? Next slide, please. So lots of numbers here that I want to try to make a point with this slide, which is recently the governor, I think it was last week, came out with 7% across the board was the number that she used as her proposed state aid increase for school districts across New York State. Although there are a lot of numbers on this page here, I did my best to try to categorize the different types of aid that we get from the state and a couple of other sources. But for the most part here, if you can see this slide, the bottom right corner shows a decrease of 1.33%. So like I said, the point I want to try to make here is that even though the governor, with her proposed state aid of 7% across the board, here at Connecticut, we are only going to realize actually a slight decrease of negative 1.33. The way this works, the governor comes out with the proposed state aid, the proposed state budget. And typically by the end of March, the state legislature actually adopts the formal state aid amounts to each school district when they complete the budget. So I'm optimistic that that small negative is going to turn into a positive, but I don't believe it's going to be anywhere near 7%. So districts across the island are getting some very significant increases compared to us, and there are various reasons for that. But in my next presentation in February and also in March, I'll try to have some more specific answers as to why we are only realizing a very small increase as I see it, okay? Next slide, please. So another issue that school districts are up against, and this is almost, I believe it's the 10th year of the New York State tax cap, commonly known as the 2% tax cap, which is intended so that school districts cannot raise, and they're not talking about the budget, they're talking about the amount of money that school districts can collect from the residences as well as the commercial businesses in a community. It was intended to be that we could not collect more than 2% each year to operate the school district unless each Board of Education on its own makes a decision to pierce the cap, and then that has to go out to a vote in the community if you're going to pierce that cap, and that has to be voted by a supermajority of at least 60% of the community, and that has never been done here at Connecticut. So what I want to clarify with this screen is 2% to Connecticut. Right now, with the governor's proposed state aid and the consumer price index, which most of you, I'm sure, have been hearing, how much prices are going up for various items that you purchase and that you may be seeing. The consumer price index for school districts is capped at 2%. Okay, so regardless of how much it costs us to buy food in the cafeteria, regardless of how much it costs us to buy fuel to heat the school buildings, or operate our transportation department with parts, tires, and whatnot, and all the other different departments within a school, we have to abide by that 2% number. So I think most of you know that's probably up around probably 5, maybe 6% based on the latest news information that we have. So that's one number they give us to operate the school district budget. The next number is, they call it an allowable levy growth factor, which is really, it takes a look at the assessed values of the homes and the businesses in a community and in a school district. And they give us a little bit of wiggle room for increases in the assessed values of homes. I know this might be hard to take right now, that everybody is probably experiencing some significant increases in the values of their homes, really across Long Island. But here, the state comptroller's office has only given us less than 0.5% increase to work with. So if you do some higher mathematics and you take the 2%, and you add it to 0.47, or just shy of 0.5%, we are looking at only being able to collect about 2.5% extra from the residences in the community and also the commercial buildings in the community, okay? So I just want to make that clear. 2% is not necessarily 2%, and for other districts, it could be upwards of 4%. I've seen some districts with 5%. And unfortunately, there are districts where that number is actually almost 0. I don't want to get into it too much, but there's a lot of different numbers that go into this. So right now, looking at about a 2.5% increase in the amount of money we're able to raise to operate the school budget next year. Next slide, please. Okay, and like I said, this is the actual calculation that goes into how the Office of the State Comptroller calculates how much money a district can actually raise. It's called the tax levy limit calculation. I have here 2.32 when I actually do the math. I know that's a little bit lower than the 2.5 that I just said. So when you actually look at it dollar for dollar, we're coming in a little bit less. But some of these numbers are not final yet, so I do expect us to be around that 2.5% limit. Next slide, please. Okay, so here, for the most part, a school district, in order to operate, it has to bring in what I call revenue. We have to bring in cash, and we bring that cash in from various sources. One of the main sources that we bring in are from community members. So people who own homes, people who own buildings in the community. Typically, you get a real estate tax bill sometime in December, and you can pay that real estate tax bill all at once, or you can pay it in two parts, typically by January, and then you have to pay the other half by May or June. So we derive probably 2/3 of our budget from the residences and the businesses in the community. The other piece that we get is state aid. So I told you about that component. And then the third piece we can go to are our reserves. So each year we have an independent auditing firm come into the school district. They audit all of our numbers, and they help us, and they also help the board evaluate the reserve balances. So we have a number of reserves here, and I just want to be transparent because there's often a lot of questions about how much money is a school district holding on to, and where is the money, and what do you intend to do with it? So this is very hard to see, so I'm just going to go through these reserves one by one so you have an idea of where our money actually is and how we intend to use that money going into the next school year. One reserve is actually called the fund balance. It's made up of a lot of different components, but for the most part, there's an item called the unappropriated fund balance. So that's really surpluses year after year, the extra money that's left over when we operate each year in a school district. So that unassigned fund balance right now has a balance of slightly over $10 million, okay? The state education department, along with the comptroller's office, said that number should not be any more than 4% of your subsequent year's school budget. Our $10 million number is about 4.64. So we're over just a little bit, okay? Out of that $10 million, we anticipate right now, and this is preliminary, using about 1/3 of that money to operate the subsequent year's budget, okay? There are also other capital projects that we're going to be discussing and addressing that we intend to use that money on and money for as well. All right, next item, other miscellaneous revenues. We intend to bring in about $3 million there. That can be from a lot of different sources. We collect tuition from a couple of neighboring districts who want to send children to our school, but that's about $3 million. We do have another reserve called a worker compensation reserve. So for any of you as employees of a business that you either own or a business that you either work for, if you get hurt on the job, okay, there's typically a workers' comp policy. Here at Connecticut, we are self-insured. So dollar for dollar, every time an employee gets injured on the job here, we have to have the funds set aside to pay out those claims. Right now, we have about $5.9 million in that reserve. Our annual expense is about $1.6 million. We have another reserve called the Employee Benefit Reserve, which is about really for employees' accrued sick time. For non-teachers who are entitled to vacation time and personal time, it also reflects that balance. We have to have monies set aside for those employees who at the end of a school year don't use all their time and if we had to pay them out, that would be the reserve we have. That reserve also has about $10 million. Our expense is about $1,100,000. You might ask, why is your expense so low in relation to what the actual balance is in that account? It fluctuates because from time to time, we never know exactly how many employees are going to retire from a district, and if those employees happen to have significant accrued balances that we have to pay out. So we anticipate that balance being about $1 million, but it can rise significantly if there's a wave of retirements. The next reserve is called the Employee Retirement System. That's non-teachers. So that's non-instructional people. We have about $9.5 million in the retirement reserve. Our annual expense is about $3.5 million. So we have somewhere around 3 years' worth of monies in that reserve. We do have a separate teachers' retirement system reserve, which is fairly new. We have $3 million in there. And typically, we've been allocating about $1.5 million, about half of that reserve, to operate the school budget. Coming down to the end here, we have an unemployment reserve. So for unemployment, we are self-insured. So anytime someone leaves this school district and is entitled to unemployment, we have to pay that unemployment benefit dollar for dollar. We have about $601,000 in that reserve, and our expense is around $400,000. That $400,000 was a little skewed because of COVID and so many individuals being entitled to unemployment. So that expense, we would hope, would come down. The last reserve we have is what's called a debt service fund reserve. I don't want to talk too much about it because there's no there are $0 in there, but if we borrow money on a long-term capital bond and we don't spend all of the reserve, we don't spend all of the bond, perhaps the cost come in less money than we budgeted, we are allowed to use that excess monies to pay down the debt. But unfortunately, at this time, we don't have any money in that debt service reserve. So that just gives you a good idea from last school year to the last 2 school years, where the money comes from to operate the school district. And we included a third column there for the 2022-23 school year, just showing you right out of the gate where we think the monies are going to come from for the next school year. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the calendar that I was talking about when I started the beginning of my presentation. So starting in January, working our way all the way down to the actual budget vote on May 17th. So we have about a little less than 4 months from now where the community will actually be presented with the proposed budget and will be able to vote on that budget along with the school board election. So I highlighted up at the top where we are today. The next board meeting, February 8th, and I believe there's only one board meeting in February right now. We're going to be discussing staffing, programs, and current enrollment. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so I would just like to take a moment, if anyone, either on the board or anyone in the public, has any questions, any comments, any concerns about the upcoming budget, or any suggestions that you would like to make? So am I correct, you're referring to the reserves? Yeah, that's a great question. So for the most part, once the money is allocated into the reserve, it's typically only for that purpose. So no, we cannot be taken from one bucket to the other.
I'm going to ask you a question, the same question I think I asked at the last meeting, and this had to do with the employee fund, the healthcare fund, that we had moved money from the reserve out of that one. The budget line, we had moved it from one budget line item to another. And I had asked you if that was going to affect anything.
Yeah, so what Ms. Napolitano is talking about is our general fund. We have about a $200 million budget to operate the school district. She's referring to one particular line, which is health insurance for active employees. I believe either at the last meeting we made a transfer, or the meeting before, we made a transfer. Yep. Out of that reserve to cover another expense that had come up in the district. And her concern was by transferring money out of that particular line item of employee health insurance, were we jeopardizing or interfering with any other program or anything we do in the district? And the answer that I said last meeting was, or when we met, was that it does not affect. That's just excess monies we happen to have in the health insurance account at the moment.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to affect healthcare for anybody in the district.
No, it will not. Okay. Is there a question? That's another great question, and I believe when Mr. Allen comes up to do his presentation, he's going to address that and the need for the district to really to start a capital reserve. We actually have, there is a capital reserve, and when you create them, they have to be specific for a time period and usually for a particular project. You can make it somewhat general or somewhat vague. So we've already used up most of the funds in that particular capital reserve, but he'll be speaking about a new one. Great question.
I'm not sure if this is fully on topic or not. I know many districts throughout the state, I'm not sure about this district, within the next 5 years or so, are going to be maxing out as far as the amount of teachers on the top tier in steps. Has this board, again, I don't know if this is early, I'm not really sure of the process, has it discussed the possibility, because I know in discussion with the state health department already,
No, it's an interesting question, and it's not necessarily my area of expertise, although I do believe the current teacher's contract has an incentive in there. I don't know if it's the type of incentive that you're actually referring to.
I know that an early buyout incentive comes from the state and that the district would be district by district, whether that district would accept or implement that particular offer. It doesn't have to accept the state early incentive buyout. I don't know if that is something that's supposed to be taken into consideration by the board or if that's just directed by the state. If it is directed by the board, is that something that is discussed?
Yeah, I'm not aware at the present time if the teacher's retirement system or the employee's retirement system is even contemplating any type of an incentive program like that. I do know approximately 2 years ago, they were considering offering that type of a program. In my experience, when they do that, there is a calculation and an evaluation that has to be made, because typically if they're going to, just as an example, if they're going to let someone retire earlier, let's say than 55, or earlier than having their 30 years of service, so that the employee or the retiree doesn't have the penalty, that I'll say it loosely here, that penalty could be shifted over onto the district. So we would have to evaluate that, and it's usually, I would imagine, something the board would have to consider as well.
I think we had one of those like 2 years ago, or didn't we have something similar? Like an early buyout? First eligible.
That's right.
Mr. Allen is going to come up now and make a presentation.
So I believe Jesse has printed out copies of the presentation and also a summary report of each of the different buildings and the different projects that are being proposed at this point. As the board may recall, earlier this year, the charge was presented to the facility committee to review potential projects within the district and look at the retiring debt service that's going to be occurring after the 2023-24 school year. So we're seriously looking at long-term planning here. This is not something that is pressing in the sense that the work is going to be proposed or done in the next year, but it does give the opportunity for the architect and myself to be thoughtful as to the project, to develop the plans, to get SED approval, and to get everything in place so that when that debt service does actually come off the books, we have a potential project to present and fill the gap. So if we go to the next slide, you can see some of the driving forces that we utilized in discussing this capital project. Building condition survey. One of the requirements that the state has in order to know what their liabilities are, because the state provides building aid to districts, is to request each building or each district every 5 years to do a building condition survey. That project is undertaken by the district architect. They review everything from the exterior of the buildings all the way through down to the boilers. So that building condition survey was just completed in the past year, and many of the items that were discussed in there, at least the big ticket items, were part of the conversations for the capital project proposal. Like everything, there are changes in regulations. One of the things that has changed substantially in the last 20 years is ADA compliance. We have areas within the district that are not fully accessible to all individuals. So this will also allow us to bring every building up to current compliance. That's not to say that we are not grandfathered in, but the moment we start doing work of this nature, we have to come into full compliance. So this will allow us to do that. Ventilation upgrades and improvements. Obviously, this was the cornerstone of all of our conversations. This is something that's been discussed since I began at the district 7 years ago. We've made great strides in improving the ventilation and the controls that we have throughout the district, but there's still more to do. 2019, at the last capital project, one of the large initiatives that was brought up that we weren't able to incorporate into the project was providing central air, controllable air in all of the classrooms and offices throughout the district. That is a massive undertaking. We've done a good job with the monies we've had in addressing several of the buildings, but we haven't been able to do all the buildings and to the extent that that the committees had been discussing over the years. So that was a major cornerstone of the conversations as well. There are some health and safety improvements that are proposed within the scope of the work, and transportation. We have a large transportation fleet that is aging. We have not made a lot of bus purchases over the last several years. This will allow us to do that as well. So the next slide, please, talks about the financing and how we would go about doing this. As I stated, we have retiring debt service. When that debt service retires, we are not going to reap this financial aid that comes with that, the state aid that comes with that. So if we can marry an existing or future project with that retiring debt service, we're absolutely able to maximize state aid. It also allows us not to worry about the spikes of unexpected projects that may occur. Another funding opportunity that we're going to be able to capitalize on is the district is in the process of completing an energy performance contract. As people may have noticed throughout the district, you're going to see large solar arrays in many of the buildings. Those, along with changing out all the interior lights from fluorescents to LEDs, those two measures alone will save the district approximately $1 million every year moving forward. If we take those two items, the retiring debt service and the reduction in utility expenses, we would end up having the borrowing power of over $60 million. Budget implications, how does this work? So since there's line items that already exist in the budget for both debt service and the utilities, no new monies will be needed to finance the proposed project. If we don't take the opportunity to roll these expiring amounts into a new capital project, it creates two significant issues. The first, financially, the debt service expenditure, which is offset by the revenue side of state building aid. This is approximately 67% for Connecticut. By not moving forward with the capital project, we would have to bridge the gap of $3.6 million annually. Additionally, if we don't reinvest into the district's facilities, we expose ourselves to the potential for large expenditures that we are unable to plan for and not anticipate, and very well may not be able if we have to do them on an emergency basis. An example of this is the pool. The pool is original to the high school. It is in dire need of attention. We do not have a plan at this point other than patchwork in order to keep that pool operational. This plan, the proposed project, would allow us to refurbish the pool. So a quick summary of all the different projects. And I tell you, this is very quick. The detail that you have in the spreadsheet's a little bit more so, but I'll get further into that as we go. HVAC reconstruction in all instructional buildings, a combination of new classroom equipment, ductless splits, and rooftop units. To address that in all the classrooms and all the offices, we're talking about approximately $20 million. In order to do this, we need to upgrade the electrical service in 8 of the buildings. That's another $3 million. ADA accessibility throughout the district is approximately $2 million. Addressing older, aging, and problematic boilers in the district, I believe this is at 4 separate buildings, is $3.3 million. Miscellaneous site work, which includes sidewalks, asphalt that's in bad repair, a little over $4 million. Secondary schools, roof replacement. The surfaces and the roofs on the secondary schools are in very, very bad shape. They need tremendous attention. If we don't take care of the building envelope, we're going to start running into problems within classrooms throughout the secondary schools. That is $22 million. Once again, the pool reconstruction, $2.6 million. And transportation to purchase approximately 10 buses is 1.5, for a grand total of $60 million. This is a project that the facility committee and myself discussed over many meetings prior to the new year. There are some in that committee who believe that we should have gone for a much larger project, that we should have been doing a whole lot more. I question that under today's times. I question the idea of adding more to the taxpayers at this time. So with that in mind, if we take the time and we create a capital reserve, we will have the opportunity in the future, as that reserve gets funded, to address projects as they arise. It's very hard for me to sit here and make a recommendation as to the size of what that project, what that reserve should be. But considering we are a $200 million budget, I would think somewhere in the neighborhood of $15 to $20 million would probably be appropriate for this district. So there is no action that's required as of now, but I would greatly appreciate it if the Board of Education can review the documents, start providing some feedback, so I can start working with the architect to start doing some of the back work that needs to happen in order for this to go on the budget, with the budget vote in May. Are there any particular questions relating to the information?
The summary of the project details is what you're asking for.
Correct. So the large Excel spreadsheet it's color-coded, that references the individual projects at each building with the architect's estimates as to what it would involve. If the board moves forward with this proposal, we will provide a much greater detail as to the scope of work. And what we'll do is similar to what we did in 2019. We'll make sure that there's placards available at all the buildings that explains the scope of work and what's going to be entailed at each of the respective buildings.
Okay, but you're, basically, you're asking for this. the summary.
Actually, there's
I have that in front of me.
that provides a little bit more detail.
More detail of the same or more detail of other things?
No, so when I make a summary of HVAC reconstruction district-wide and give you a number of $20
Of
million, this provides the detail
where
And
it's
if-
going?
of which building it's going to what extent, and I will further describe this, as we move forward. But instead of investing that kind of time and energy, I just wanted to get broad strokes as to what the board's comfort level was and their understanding as to the potential project.
Right, we went over this, I think some of us went to your meetings. I think what you're asking for is spot on. Marisol, I know you went. I think you're not going over, you're doing what's necessary. I think what you did is a great job personally right now, but everyone might have some questions. Marlon, you wanted questions?
So John, me and you go back. We sat at the last bond. That was pretty extensive. I think overall, there was some things that were not included, some things that were, and the committee, to get the committee to go exactly 100% on board, there's always going to be something that somebody wants that doesn't make it to the table. I personally thought that the last bond was great. It hit a lot of key areas of education and our facilities. That was a very well-rounded bond. It touched on a lot, our libraries and so forth, our new auditorium, at the high school, et cetera. I anticipated that this bond would be more of the core, of the underneath of the mechanics of how our buildings work, aside from the pool. The pool, we know it should have made it to the last bond. Unfortunately, it didn't. There's no question it needs to get done. Now that we've opened our pool to the community, I think it'd be great even now to have a new and improved pool, get some more attention and interest from our community to come and utilize our pools. I think this committee did a great job because you had to counter the other bond with something more mechanical like you have here.
Well, there's a lot of mechanical to this, but I would remind everybody, every single instructional space is going to have air conditioning if this project gets approved as it's designed. So while it may not have some of the bells and whistles, there is some large price tags that come with some very specific items. District-wide air conditioning is not something that's widespread. But because of the retiring debt service and the timing of it, we do have an opportunity to provide that for every single instructional space.
So now you mentioned $20 million. So do you want to set up a capital reserve in anticipation of reaching 20? Because it's funny, when you said 15, 20, when you asked for the 20 came into my mind right away. So is it something it's sort of a reserve that you want to build on?
Without a doubt. So, as Mr. Hauser referred to, capital reserves are set up with a 10-year lifespan. So when we start looking at different projects throughout the upcoming years and everything else, as we have the ability to fund it, whether we can or not right out of the gate, it's all relative to all the other expenses and everything else that transpires over the course of a year. But at the end of the year, if there is an opportunity to put money into a reserve, it makes perfect sense to be able to do that, and then once again, submit projects to SED and capitalize on the building aid that comes with it. Projects such as replacing the tennis courts at the high school could be considered. Projects, additional asphalt at one of the middle schools could be considered. There's any number of things that could be done moving forward. A district of this size, we have over 1 million square feet of inside spaces, and to maintain those over the course of 10 years. I don't know if we would be tapping into that reserve for the first few years. We're still finishing the 2019 project, and then we'd roll right into this and do this over the ensuing years and everything else. But I do think that, with the amount of work that transpires over the course of the year, additional buses, that's something that at some point It would be nice if we had a capital reserve and we could keep that out of the general fund budget. Once again, planning.
So when do you anticipate the high school auditorium to be done? Of course, that's under the old bond.
Okay, so the work at the high school auditorium, because we need to leave the auditorium available to the end of the school year for all the activities that take place in there, we'll be starting that in earnest July 1st. And we should have it ready and available for the community and all the organizations by the time for the winter concerts.
Okay, so let's jump back to the bond question. I know that I've asked that question with Bob when we were funding the reserves, and we decided to hold back around $2 million from doing so. And I did ask that question, and I believe, Bob, you said it's something that would need to be voted on in order to sort of transfer that $2 million there?
If you're referring to the unassigned fund balance? Yep, that's correct. So the board, I believe, can vote amongst yourselves to actually transfer that into a capital reserve. However, I believe the community has to authorize the creation of a capital reserve first in order for that to happen.
So is this something you can simultaneously do? Because, as a start thought, John, can this work in conjunction? Because you're sort of asking for that, we sort of,
So it's ultimately up to the Board of Education as to how they want to present this information to the community. We have the opportunity to piggyback with the May vote that's going to take place for next year's budget and add resolutions to it. That is one way to do it without a separate vote. A lot of school districts tend to do these type of votes in the fall because they're looking for less support from the community. They're looking for less people to come out to vote. This community, as far back as I can find, has always supported maintaining its environment, which is the reason why we have debt service retiring. We did a large project 15 to 18 years ago that is coming off the books. And because of that, I think it's to the district's best interest to do this at the budget vote and to do both resolutions at that time.
sounds good, thank you.
Can I just piggyback one thing? This is the last capital project we can do for how many years?
It's the last time we have debt service retiring for, I believe it's 12 years after that.
Right,
That's not to say that you can't do a capital project, but it is the last time that you're going to be able to do it with the least amount of impact to the budget.
right.
So I have a few questions. One, I don't know if you remember, I know you remember. Before I was on the school board, I advocated heavily as a parent for air conditioning. Do you remember? Because it's going back 5-6 years ago, gotta be. And I came to a board meeting and I sat and spoke to you and I was really gung-ho. But then I sat down and saw the numbers and I'm for it, but I'm not, my whole thing is this. I had put together something I wrote before, because I was really concerned more about this year especially. The district is retiring, 4.4 million. We're saving, I thought it was 1.1 million, so I was off, it's 1 million with the energy performance contract. Instead of putting another bond up for the community to vote on, would there have been a chance to save it this year? With a lot of people out of work because of COVID, might be a good year to give the community a break. I just don't understand why we couldn't do this, let's say, not this year, next year, and just take the money that we have saved and use that for the things that are necessary that we really have to do. I'm only saying that because I feel like the impact to the taxpayer right now, even with a 67% return in state aid, there is still going to be an impact.
Absolutely.
And the impact is going forward. And like Bob had said before, we have to be really, really cognizant of what we're spending, because we are spending and everything's going up, it's not going down. We have to be cognizant of what we're spending because just like we were told, the money even from COVID that we received, that's not going to be here forever. But the debt we keep incurring is going to be here. So I'm for me personally, would like to have seen it wait a year, retire it, and then have it the following year. I'm just going from a budgetary standpoint. And you would be giving the community a little bit less of an impact for the following year if we decided to do this. But again, that's just me, maybe you could.
No. And so to that, let me just try to clarify, because maybe I didn't do a good job. There is no financial impact next year. The debt service is not retiring next year, it's the following year.
But if
So-
we didn't do, what I'm saying is if we allowed it to retire out completely,
Right.
there would still be then there would be no impact, not this budget year, the following budget year. What you're talking about, which would become an impact.
So, and there's some truth to that too, but it also allows the architect and myself to start scheduling and to start planning and everything else. There won't be any monies expended. We won't be borrowing any monies until the state actually gets the projects and approves them. And for that matter, once we borrow the money, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hauser, but I believe it's 18 months before the district has to make its first payment on debt. So we're already looking at 2.5 years down the road before any payments at all would come to the district.
And if we asked Mr. Hauser, he would say, how much does the budget go up each year without us even doing anything, without us changing anything, adding anything, just with salaries and all sorts of benefits that everything is going up.
Yep.
We already had this discussion. It's what, almost, I was told it was 600 and change for one thing. Sounded like it was over $1 million every year.
Yeah, I would say at a minimum of 2%. Yep.
So my point is, if this has been a bad 2 years for some people, if you gave them a little bit of an out in taxes going up, because they're all going up. They're going up every year no matter what we do. So the reality, like I said, is we already have in the budget, no matter what we do, an increase. It's an increase that just keeps going up because of just
Yep.
salaries and benefits.
Yep.
We have to be cognizant of what we spend. Again, I'm not against the capital project, but I would have to see the numbers, and I would have to see a projection 5 years going forward, things like Mylyn has asked for, that show that 5 years from now, we're not gonna be cutting programs. I mean, I was told, what was it, a year ago? I know, maybe it was 2 years ago, when we were talking about accessing people and things like that. I don't wanna get to that.
100%.
I don't wanna, me personally, I prefer to pushing something off 1 year, and I don't mean things that are necessary. There's things that are necessary, and there's things that we want to do because it makes them, beautifying the community, and I understand that.
Sure.
But beautifying the community could happen a year later, too, and
Without a
help the taxpayer. That's just my take on it.
Yep, and Jackie, I absolutely understand where you're coming from, and I greatly appreciate it. My concern is when we start talking about the size of some of these numbers, if we don't start planning for it, we could be left holding the bag pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking to create an increase, and I understand what you're saying, that, we could give people a break and lessen it. I would have to go through and actually do a calculation as to the trade-off between not doing a project and not reinvesting that debt service into a project, what that actually amounts to for each household. I believe it's a lot less than we think it is, but but I'd have to do it for this one. I don't want to misspeak.
No, plus, the way John is doing it, this money doesn't have to go into the budget.
No, I understand.
So that's savings alone. Plus we get how much, 79% or?
67%.
67% back. And the sooner he locks in prices, because there's inflation every year, everything goes up, and so the sooner he locks in the prices of getting the work done, that's another savings.
But what I'm saying is, you're never gonna save the taxpayer money if you continue to keep on rolling debt over. So it expires, it's like, okay, we have $4 million we can borrow, and out of that $4 million, even if $1 million goes back to the community, you still are giving the taxpayer a burden. So we can't say there isn't a burden. There is a burden, and the burden gets compounded each year with the percentages that increase. So I'm just saying, if we're being honest with the public, which we should be, again, there are things that are necessary, and there are things that we want to do because it's nice, and I understand that. But all I said was to push something off a year, and like he said, it would give it gives, right now, it's 18 months before it affects the community. If we push this off 1 year, that gives the community 2.5 years before it impacts them. I'm just saying we have to be realist here. We were talking about accessing people a year ago. I just don't want to say, hey, let's spend another $1 million, but we'll access people. I'm definitely not for that.
Jackie, I'm completely aware of that, and I can appreciate that. And
Well, especially, and not to cut you off, especially since I was told that class sizes might be affected with just the budget lines. So if that's a case, I'm for making sure that kids are getting an education in a classroom in a smaller class environment, especially if COVID is still in effect and we have issues, and I just think smaller class sizes in general is good, especially for the younger kids. I'm just saying if we could push it off a year, that would be my take on it. But again, I'm only one person.
understood, but I just want to, we would not be doing this or borrowing this in the next calendar year or two. So I just want to be clear. I will do the calculation for you. You know, we use $1 million as an example. $1 million,
What it looks like 2 years, the projection when the year that it would hit.
Yep.
How much, because again, we were told 2% increase. If it's 2% this year, 2% next year, you're talking about a lot of money.
right. And one of the slides that Mr. Hauser shared was the decrease in building aid. And it was a large number. I believe it was 9%, if I could see it correctly from my seat. That's what we're trying to protect from, not having those big dips and everything else. But I will say, I just want to clarify one last piece, and then, you know, however you want to do it. In the 7 years, if you go back and you look at all the codes that I'm responsible for through plants and facilities, we have not increased our codes 2% every single year. And I can appreciate that we look at the district as a whole, but I am looking at the district as a short-term, long-term concern. A ceiling lets go at the high school, and we lose dozens of classrooms, and we lose instruction. I would gladly take anybody up onto the roof of the high school and show them the surface of that high school roof. It is in dire needs of attention.
You took us down to
The
see the
pool-
pool.
the pool
I
is
think we
another.
do need a new pool. I said that when we were all down there. We all said it. But
And-
I'm just saying, needing something, and we have the money potentially to be able to use towards that is one thing. I'm just saying, when we take on a big capital project, even though, like I said, 67% is given back, paid back through the money,
Understood.
it's still, we can't take for granted there's still an impact on the community, whether it's 2 years from now or 3 years from now. In 3 years, you're talking about a 6% increase compounded, two, you know.
It's real numbers.
It's real money.
It-
You have to be reasonable because, like I said, some people are saying their taxes have gone up to astronomical numbers in our district, throughout our district. And this was once a district where the taxes were actually a place that people moved because the taxes were so much lower than other areas, and you still got a good education, and it was still a nice community, and it is. But people look at the tax numbers. We have to understand that. If we want to bring young people in to buy houses, we have to be reasonable to understand that the first number they look at is what's the number after the house is paid off that they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their lives living in that home.
100%. I totally appreciate everything you're saying. I do. Were there any other questions?
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Sure, yep. On the capital project that John spoke about, or transportation?
No, we're not doing that tonight. He's coming back again. During public comment, if that's what you'd like to discuss. During public comment, yeah. Mr. Hauser?
Okay, thank you. So several of the board trustees who often hear from the community on a daily basis, if not less frequent, asked that we speak about transportation and in particular bus safety with bus routes as well as bus stops. I've invited the Director of Transportation, Joanne Froberg, and our Transportation Consultant, John Robertson, to be here tonight to do a presentation on safety as it relates to individual bus routes and stops. And I also want to acknowledge that we have two of our dedicated bus driver and office staff here. We have Debbie and Lisa here, so thank you as well for coming out. I'm sorry. Thank you, I apologize. Okay, I thought you were all sitting together. Sorry. Thank you very much for coming out and showing your support. So at this time, what I'd like to do is invite Ms. Froberg up to the podium to start this presentation. And at the end, there will be a slide that says discussion, questions, comments, concerns, if anyone has them. And Joanne, if you don't mind, you can tell Jesse to go through the slides one by one, if that's what you want to do.
Okay, you can go to the next one.
And if you want, if you want to pull the microphone out or try to speak closer to it so everyone can hear you.
I gotta get over to see that. Okay. To safely and promptly transport 5,000 students on a daily basis to and from school during school field trips.
Joanne, could you grab it out and just so it's closer, it's hard to hear. Thank you.
Okay. And after-school sports with our professional and valued staff and fleet, as well as with our contracted bus vendor, Suffolk Transportation. You can go to the next one. The logistics. 10 public school buildings, 91 individual morning bus and van routes, covering a geographic area of approximately 8.5 miles long by 4.25 miles wide, or 36 square miles. Additional routes, BOCES, occupational and special education. We go to Bellport and Port Jeff. Out-of-district placements, we have West Hills Academy and Dix Hills, Santa Mauritius. Homeless as far as way as Flushing, Queens. Field trips and sports. 6 parochial private schools within a 15-mile radius. St. Anthony's, St. John's, St. Mary's, Smithtown Christian, St. Pat's in Bayshore, and St. Pat's in Smithtown. School bus stops. School bus stops are established by weighing a multitude of factors existing at every stop. There is no formula for districts that does not involve a judgment call. Courts require that a district choose a stop with reasonable safety, not the safest stop. Any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions? Okay.
There was a bus route. I don't know enough of the details other than it was on a service road.
Yes.
And I saw a picture of all the roads intertwining there, and I thought it was not safe for the kids on the bus. How, did that become a bus stop for a child, or did they have to move to around the corner? Because the way it appears, it's not safe.
You're talking about the service road bus stop that was just added?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, because I mean, to me, if the bus stop's there and there's an accident, there's a lot of kids on that bus, not just the one that you're picking up. So would it be more beneficial to move the bus stop a little ways around the corner so it's safe for all children? I don't know.
Well, it's always beneficial to have the stops off of a main road like that. We have a huge district, as you know. We have many stops on the service roads of the expressway, even the side streets. People just, the stops are there, the stop signs, and they're just going through. But with all of that being said, I have to say that the drivers that drive for the district, they take all of that into consideration every day. And if there's an issue, I want them to come in and talk to us. You know, they go through their route, they do everything the best that they can, and I'd like to say that their safety rate right now is phenomenal with the children, putting the children first.
I'm very proud of the Transportation Department. I was just questioning that one particular route because it
Right.
seems kind of sketchy to me when I saw it, but I'm a novice. But I just saw all those roads intertwining on the map, and it just seemed a little, but in terms of the bus drivers, I have a lot of respect for you. Probably have one of the hardest jobs in the district. You're dealing with children, you're dealing with safety, you're dealing with roads, you're dealing with weather, you're dealing with COVID,
they are.
I give you guys a lot of credit for doing what you do. I really do.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any other board members?
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
I'm trying to find out, I know that I had spoken to you on the phone, I think, a couple of times in regards to transportation. And, well, I'm so thankful for everything you guys do. I know that we've had some issues since the beginning of the school year with getting people, morale's down. It's not easy. What I wanted to find out was, at the last meeting, I had advocated for you guys to look into starting a committee that could be of some of your bus drivers, it could be administration, it could be whomever you felt should be on this committee, looking into some of these routes. Because does it really make sense to add like three bus routes to one bus that, because of a what is it, something finder you guys use, TransFinder, is that?
Yes,
Okay, I'm not a big fan of it. I firmly believe that you're still better off speaking to the actual drivers themselves. It's their experience. I know for myself that my bosses aren't going to go look at a computer and then start telling me what I should do on my job from a computer. They're going to tell me the hands on deck, the boots on the ground, what are you guys doing? Let me know what we could do to fix this. Are you guys doing that? Because there seems to be so many people who are not getting asked, I don't think. And I see it all the time, how these are things that could just be fixed with simply working together and talking to people in regards to, from their experience, what's a better way to do it. Like some of these routes, you could be going to one end. I mean, I was told this from children too, and I'm like, then I asked the driver, and they said, yeah, we go here, and then we go there, and then we go. I'm like, this is crazy. When I was in school, you did a bus route, it was boom, 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 and the next was boom, boom. Like you had a bus route where you were actually traveling and dropping people as you traveled. It wasn't driving to bus stops. It was actually, as you traveled, you were dropping people off on that route. What's changed? And why haven't we spoken to these drivers? I know that I brought it up to Mr. Hauser at the last meeting, and I had asked him, could we start this committee? Can he get some ideas from you? I'd love to sit on the committee, if the board would be okay with that, because I would love to just see what everybody said. Like, are there things that they know could improve this and help? And especially since I just saw the high school had to be changed because the dismissal time, people were racing to get to OBMS and RMS, and kids are late and buses are waiting, and all of these things could be, I just feel like if everybody came together and you had like a good committee meeting and everybody put their experience together, you might have a better morale, I guess I should say, overall.
Well, I'll tell you, yes, there's a lot that can be done. And the driver's input it's great when they help us out like that, because they're out there. They're on the roads. They're doing it. They're dealing with things day in and day out. And like you said, with COVID, my drivers, like 2 weeks ago, I had 17 of them out, sick. So it hit our department hard, and they just want to come to work and do what they need to do. But with all of that being said, bus routes now they extend further to cover the area that we have. They are a little bit longer. And as far as the dismissal at the high school, yes, that was an issue. I don't have the drivers like racing all over. I don't want people to think that, But the time, yes.
Well, like Cherokee, what I had learned, I did some research, and I brought that up at the last meeting. I didn't realize there were 3 tiers. I thought there were only 2. And then I found out that Cherokee is its own tier.
Yes.
So that's another issue. Because if you leave the high school even a few minutes late, the potential to get from furthest north, furthest south, I should say, to furthest north, that's gonna be difficult, especially in bad weather. So I just don't wanna see anybody, God forbid, get hurt or burnt out. And a lot of these, listen, we appreciate it, because we know that if bus drivers didn't come to work, we would have to go virtual. We know that, you know what I'm saying? I know that really people don't always give the credit where credit's due, but you guys are a very important job that has a lot to do with our children making it to school safe. And also, not just that, but also if more bus drivers would have gotten sick or were out, we wouldn't have been able to open the schools. That was told to us by our superintendent.
Yeah, that's correct, yep.
So thank you. Thank you guys for what you do every day.
I have to tell you, when all of those people were out, the drivers on the roads those days, you know, over the radio, it would come, you know, I need this stop picked up, there's a kid at this stop. And they're just going, okay, I can get this one, I can get that one. So it's what makes the department work. When everybody can come together as a team to get the job done as safe as possible. The high school, the dismissal time, yes, was an issue. So Mr. Hauser and myself, we had gone up, we had watched the dismissal, we had discussed with moving it up because that would be the best. So, you know, the drivers aren't under such stress. On a great day, you know, they hit the tracks. They hit, even to get out of the school with the one way in and the one way out, which I think that is a huge issue too, especially in the morning. I have buses waiting 20, 25 minutes to get into the school, and then they have to go to their next schools, but they're never rushed, you know, they get the kids in safely. So in the afternoon now, we have the buses pulling out at 2:15. The buses that were late to OBMS, this school, and Cherokee, we were able to have drivers that I couldn't use all of them in case I needed them to cover if someone was out. But we were able to get drivers, and maybe we took 4 stops off of this run and 5 stops off of that run, and it was able to get everybody where they needed to be on time, you know, because I can't have them pulling into Cherokee. Well, they're dismissing children and children coming out while buses are pulling in. So with the changes that have been implemented, it's working out well. But again, we have the roads we deal with, we have the weather that's coming, hopefully not too soon, but it's just the daily in and daily out that can slow everyone down. And I always tell them, you know, take your time. We never rush anyone. We could be calling them, especially in the morning, to say, did you get to this stop yet? Because the parents are calling. So we could say they're around the block or they're 2 minutes away. But yes, there definitely can be more, and we've been working on it to make things flow a little bit better. And not having enough drivers increases the amount of stops on the buses. So it takes longer. It covers more area, yes.
I like all the signs you guys put up. I hope it helps. And we get some more drivers. If people want to drive, come on down.
I gotta tell you, we had a ton, like in the beginning, we couldn't even answer the phone. But then, you know, the license and then, you know, but we did bring on a few people who will be training to be drivers with some of our DAs now that would like to move up and be a driver. There should be opportunity. Everybody should have a chance, you know? So, yeah, we're hopeful. We're very hopeful. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much for everything.
And so I just want to be clear, and Joanne, thank you, and thank you to all the drivers and the office staff for everything you do. What I just want to be clear about is Joanne and I are committed to forming a committee of drivers, of office staff, and all the stakeholders, parents, board members. We just want to be clear that the purpose of the committee, and this is really a question, are we looking to do a study district-wide at all the bus stops, all the bus routes, or should the purpose of the committee be to I'll say primarily address individual parent concerns, bus driver concerns, and look at those one-on-one? or are we going to be tasked with this grand district-wide study? I just think it's important that we know what the purpose of that committee is so that we can make it efficient and we can make it effective so that we can get things done the right way. And with safety, obviously, our paramount concern.
That was my first, I mean, that's why it even came up. I don't know if you know, but a couple meetings ago, and then last meeting again, I brought it up. Since last year, we've been discussing some of the bus routes. I mean, you have Lakeland, you have Motor Parkway, you have the service roads, definitely not good. You have over on by RMS, you have off of the Vets Highway, there's just so many spots, Ocean Avenue, there's so many spots I could bring up that it's like, they're, and I hate to call them main drags, but they're roads that you have, really, I was saying that I wanted to look at the bus, speak to bus drivers, ask them, what are their concerns? And also then take the parent concerns, and if you put them together, have a meeting and be able to talk about both. I mean, I think it should be more projected on things that people are bringing up, because if someone's bringing up a complaint, it's obviously, and if we tell people, hey, listen, if there's an issue, we're doing this committee, send in your question or send in your concern. You could be anonymous, send in your concern about something. I'm just saying, I don't think it needs to be like a broad, district-wide, let's just go into, I think we should start with ask the drivers, because they're the ones that do the route, so they know better than me, better, than most people what's going on. They're gonna know. And again, like I said, I'm not a big fan of GPS, because sometimes it takes you the worst way, and you could have went this way. So I want to hear from them. Is there a better route this way that they can go, and maybe that alleviates some issues? Also, speaking to the parents, what do they want? What's the best and safest way? I always say that it's great that we're an educational institution, but if we don't get there safe and we're not healthy, that's the most paramount thing for our children. We have to get there safe, we have to be healthy, or we ain't gonna get an education, period. So we just need to understand that, and then from there, what can we do to make it a little safer for the students? What can we do to make it safer for the drivers? Because stopping on the service road, it's not safe for anybody. Definitely not. So I think that, I'm glad you guys have the cameras now. That's been good. But I know from my own job, people still go around them. There's tons of summonses being handed out. So, we still have to be cognizant of safety above all.
I would almost think that if you start the committee, first of all, thank you for everything. Thank you, bus drivers, for all you do to get our kids to school safely. But I think if you look at the district as a whole first, and then you could zone in on problems that occur throughout the district and parental concerns and/or bus stops that are not safe, that would be my suggestion.
And thank you. That's the feedback we're looking for so that we can, do what you're tasking us to do.
What?
Yeah, I did see.
Go ahead. I guess any bus driver, I don't know, Mr. Hauser, you're going to head this committee. I know I'd like to be part of it, because I'd like to hear what you have to say.
I think if
Here we go. Anti-bullying starts here. It starts here. Why don't you meet me afterwards and talk to me one-on-one like a human being? And stop. Just stop.
Guys, come on.
If I may, I think, first of all, I think you're asking a great question. And I think it's important for us as administrators and the Director of Transportation to be able to communicate with each of you. I think there's an assumption many times that employees in the Transportation Department, they see their emails right away and that they're aware of things, aware of us either trying to communicate with you. I think we have to work on improving that communication system between the administration and the drivers so that we know we are effectively communicating with you and not making an assumption that you got the message timely. So to answer your question, what I would like to do is be able to communicate the idea of this committee to each driver and to each person in the transportation department, so that you at least are aware that we want to form the committee, and you have an active role in helping us logistically form the company. I don't want to say it doesn't seem feasible that every bus driver will be on the committee. We could certainly do that on a Saturday or a Sunday. We could make that happen, you know. But to make that happen on a grand scale during a school day, or even perhaps after school, we all know the routes are going from early morning to the evening. So number one, I think it's important for us to communicate with each one of you clearly, that we hear from you whether you're interested in being on the committee or just providing some feedback to us, and that if there is a large response that people want to be part of the committee, that we stay open to that idea. So sometimes a simple suggestion like yours is the best. It really is. You know, it doesn't take much to get input like that could possibly help us look back and say, you know, the system wasn't broke. Someone tried to fix it, and now it's not the way it was. So I appreciate
Mr.
that.
Hauser, can you meet with the bus drivers, have a preliminary and hear what they have to say, so we don't have to wait till some formal committee isn't, and we can start from there?
Sure.
And also look back, like Christy's saying, I would say look back and see what's changed. I know I'm not a fan of the TransFinder. I'm not a fan of how this is all going. I prefer to go back to routes. I said that's what that is. It's TransFinder. It's this new computerized way of doing things. I don't believe in it. That's just me. I prefer to ask the bus drivers, what's the route? I prefer to see what children are in the area, how you do the statistic of what children need to get on what bus, and those are the routes that we make. And this actually alleviates having 12 children.
So I have a question. I have a question. Is there something with Breeze Avenue? Did you change Breeze Avenue? Because, so why is Breeze Avenue route stops on the service road and goes way around route, adding 5 extra minutes, causing the same, but get to RMS, it's 10 minutes late. So is there something to do with Breeze Avenue that's sort of setting up a domino effect?
You're talking about one of the high school buses that goes north, and you said Breeze?
Yeah.
I was just looking at this route. When the driver leaves the high school, he heads up north, he gets on Expressway Drive. He stops at the stops along Expressway Drive rather than start cutting through the blocks. So he goes steady on that, then he goes up Vanderbilt, down Terry, and he works his way in, and then he goes right back out Ocean to RMS. You know, it sounds like when you go to one corner, you should turn up and you should stop and do this and come back down and go. It's just, they're going around and around and around. And then it's more dangerous getting back on, you know, Expressway Drive. How much more dangerous could that be? Just keep going this way and then coming back out. We have to, although the stops are not on a wonderful strip, we have to stay on it one way and not just keep coming on it and going off. And, you know, because I don't want the buses to get rear-ended, coming in, going out.
Get along with them and then report back to the board.
Yes, I will.
Thank you so much.
Okay?
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I had very lengthy board discussions, but I'm going to summarize because I'd really like to hear from a majority of the community. But in doing that, I want to ask the board to extend the 30 minutes for public comment. Are you okay with that? I want to extend it instead of listening to me for half an hour. Lee, it's your choice. You want Jackie half hour, or you want to hear them? I'd rather hear them. All right, so I'm going to be fast. Ready? Here we go. Like the fastest I could talk. Ready? Here we go. Drug overdose awareness. I'm excited. I hope you guys are. I advocated for Narcan training, and thanks to PPS. They're awesome. They're bringing in Narcan training. They're working on it as we speak. Me and Marisol were on the Mental Health Advisory Committee, and we were at a meeting this week, and we went over Narcan training, which I know I like. I think it's great for parents, regardless. You could use it they give you the whole kit for free. It's a nice training to have. God forbid you're ever around a kid or even an adult that needs it. It could save a lot of lives. I've seen it happen. It's a good thing to have, just to have on you. You never know. 2, special ed update. We could go over that at the next meeting only because I want to get more information from this from the superintendent. I know you gave me that piece of paper, but that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for special ed progress. My 2 questions are going to be, are our students in special ed making adequate progress toward achieving the goals set forth since COVID hit? I know that it was answered, but it's like in a roundabout way. I really just want to, maybe they could be like some sort of diagram so we could show the public how they're doing. What are we doing to modify said goals for the special ed community in the event a student is not making progress? Okay, moving on to number 3, bullying, cyberbullying, suicide prevention presentations. I advocated at the Mental Health Committee for bringing back that awesome play that you guys had at the high school 2 years ago. I believe that Ray Carter brought it in. It was awesome. It was from the ministries. Loved it. It went over bullying. It went over cyberbullying, suicide, with so many suicides going up because of the pandemic and depression and mental health on a rise. This is such a good thing to have. Also, we had asked, I sent an email to the board and the super, and I was happy to find out Ryan's story is a presentation that was done at Smithtown, and we already have it coming in. I had put an email, and they said it was already on the schedule, but we also advocated, Marisol and myself, to have it for parents. So there will be a parent night. Please, please go to it, or if it's going to be virtual, which I think that's what she said, watch it. It's a story and a half about suicide. It will break your heart and bring you to tears, but we could all learn a lot, myself included. The other thing
She
was...
said, not to interrupt you, but she said it would be virtual for parents because the presenter is actually not from New York. So when he would be here for the students, he wouldn't be able to stay for the parents. So it would be virtual for the parents, but it's a great story.
And Marisol, was it, I think she said 5th to 12th, or is it 6th to 12th? Do you remember? I can't.
I believe she said 6. I think
Okay,
that
6.
the 5th graders are a little too young.
So it's something that definitely is, it's really, I have friends that are in Smithtown that had it 2 weeks ago and said it was amazing, amazing. The parents come in and they speak. It is heart-wrenching, and it is a true story. Definitely something for everybody to be aware of and watch. Number 3, I have RMS initiative. I tried to send the board and the super the videos that were uploaded from the PTA. I thought it was amazing what the student council initiative is, the Be Kind and Be Ronkonkoma Middle School. Thank you to the principals. Thank you to the advisors. I hope I don't butcher their names. Mrs. Ariamo and Mrs. DeMayo. Thank you for all you guys are doing. Student Council Initiative. Thank you to the Student Council and the advisors. And thank you to the principals, Mr. Liccardo and Mr. Wrinkle. I love the videos. They were excellent. I sent them to Mylin, right? Awesome.
Beautiful, loved it.
We're looking for initiatives at the schools. This was a great initiative. I would love to see this at other schools. I really would.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Dr. Dewey. I think you saw that with me, Mylan. He's a neurosurgeon or a neurologist. And he spoke to parents and the children about drugs. The way he spoke about it, from marijuana all the way through heroin, it was so interesting. And he brought it down to the common denominator. And we all, anyone that watched it understood it. They understood what it does to different parts of the brain. But he does it in such a nice way, an educational way, that the children sat there, they enjoyed watching it as well as the parents. So I am advocating for that, and then I actually just texted Gail, and she said you discussed it at the last meeting.
She did, she brought it up at the last mental health committee meeting.
Right, so I'm asking that if we can afford, if we can get him this year to do something for the parents as well as the children, they can do it together on Zoom, you would really appreciate it, because you just never know, and drugs are, what they're saying, what's going on now is pretty bad.
Yeah, fentanyl. I
Right.
believe fentanyl is the number one, they just were telling us. It's
Gail was
definitely
very
working.
excited about Dr. Dewey, and she brought up the fentanyl abuse and
Right.
how he's just great for
Well,
exposing that to kids.
That presentation was excellent.
Support, Lee, we're 100% behind you on that one.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on. Yeah, we're, in a couple of minutes.
You guys are gonna be able to come up, and it's not gonna be limited to a half an hour since but listen, since we raced through, you guys are all gonna be able to come up, whoever wants to come up and speak, we're giving you extra time. I mean, everyone will still only get 3 minutes, but we're not gonna limit it to the half hour.
Okay, we're moving on to personnel items. Public, yeah, okay. Anyone have any questions for consent agenda items? If you do, I'm gonna start, I'll have to read the. No?
Does anybody have any questions on the consent agenda items for public comment?
Okay, so we're gonna move on to personnel matters. I need to have a motion and a second. As amended.
Item 16 was added to personnel schedule, the instructional personnel schedule.
Okay, I need a motion,
Motion.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda item. Need a motion and a second to approve, as amended, items 2 through 18. Motion? Second, okay.
Just, that does include the resolution that you requested from legal counsel. Would you like me to read it?
yes, please read the resolution we added.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Hold on 1 second.
No, I just want to make sure the resolution
It's on.
for the expiration, she's gonna read.
I also expanded it, just so you know, so not only upon the expiration of the stay order, but the expiration of the law itself, which is supposed to happen in February, that, I included that as well, just so there's two
wanna read it,
expiration
Lisa?
dates.
Wonderful,
Do you
Lisa,
want-
appreciate.
It's up to the board. Do you want me to read it?
If you could read it, I think the public, it'd be good for them to hear that we are standing behind choice once it's available to us.
It says, "Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Connecticut Central School District hereby declares that effective upon the expiration of the stay order issued by the Second Department concerning the Nassau County Supreme Court's decision on masks in schools, thus requiring school districts in New York State to continue to comply with this mask mandates outlined in 10 NYCRR Section 2.60, and/or effective upon the expiration of that same section, 10 NYCRR Section 2.60 on February 21st, 2022, or upon its earlier repeal or vacatur, and provided no other law or regulation, decision, or order is subsequently enacted or adopted, requiring face coverings in P through 12 schools, it shall be the policy of the Board of Education that each Connecticut School District teacher, student, staff member, and or visitor will have the individual discretion to determine whether they will wear a face covering while on school district property.
Perfect wording. Thank you, Lisa.
Motion?
No, tomorrow you still have to wear masks. This is on, no, that's exactly, no, that,
Just to clarify,
Excuse me, she's speaking.
just to clarify, correct, there is no executive order, you're right. But there's a rule,
See, I'm so
All I can do
confused
is
right
tell you
now. I
what
have
to
to ask Lisa. Now I'm confused.
yes.
Okay, I was told that there's a stay a stay that's by the second department courts.
Correct,
This is a legal order by a judge.
yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to, okay, so the legal order by the judge 2 days ago was to,
To say that the current law,
was
rule,
unconstitutional.
does not exist. Do you want me to talk? It's up to the board. It's completely up to the board.
Is it a law? I need to, guys, you gotta just listen to me for 1 minute, please. I wanna just figure this out, and I can't do it. I understand you're upset, you're frustrated. Trust me, I'm up here with this mask on, and we all know I'm not for masks. So let's just relax, because the one thing I've said, and I've been consistent with, is whether I'm for something or against it, I will follow the law. So if the law right now is I have to wear a mask, it's on. But if the law is suspended or it's ruled unconstitutional and it stands, then I stand with it. And I've said this without prejudice, without any other bias. There is no reason why people on both sides, for masking and unmasking, can't show the same respect for one another. We are all here for the same reason. Whether you are for masking or against it, when it was upheld in a court that it is that we have to be masked, then I wear a mask and I'm doing what, like I said, is following the law. But when the parental choice is allowed, that's when people who even are for masking have to show the same respect, because we can't selectively choose which laws we're going to uphold. Because if that's the case, then we should vote now and decide which ones we're not going to uphold. So either we uphold them all, or we uphold whichever ones each board member chooses. So the reality is, I'm personally going to uphold all the laws as they come in, but I want to find out if it is. And she won't speak if you guys are all yelling and screaming. So please, just give us a minute, okay? I promise you're going to have your chance to talk.
Okay. So it's the rule that is based on public health law. All right, I'm not.
guys, please let the attorney finish speaking, please.
Let her finish, and I promise you she will. I promise.
It's a rule that is based on a law. That is what the Department of Health is saying. And the Nassau County Supreme Court disagreed with that. And that's why the rule, which was based on a public health law, was deemed unconstitutional based on how that rule was promulgated and implemented. The court determined that it wasn't done appropriately, and that what the Department of Health was doing was attempting to create a law without going through the state legislature. So that's what Nassau County found. What the appellate division found today was, notwithstanding what Nassau County found, we're going to continue to follow the rule that was promulgated based on public health law until Friday, when the issue is going to be further argued at 10 o'clock a.m. I believe it's going to be publicly televised, where you can access the appellate division through the internet, so you can watch the arguments, and you can hear both sides, some of which you're arguing today, and some of which are going to be through the Department of Health, which I'm sure many other people have that support those arguments. So the appellate division is going to decide on Friday whether the stay should continue based upon exactly what the concerns that are being voiced here are today. That's all I can tell you, is what the status is, not whether the law exists or not. It is what it is. It is a rule that the Department of Health is saying is promulgated under public health law. It is a rule promulgated under So that's the most I can tell you.
Masks have to be worn masks have to be worn tomorrow through Friday. Friday night or Saturday? Stop it, just stop and be adults, please. Oh, yes, I do. What do you do for kids? Huh? What do you do for kids? Sit here and argue? I had enough. You're a bunch of bullies.
All right, guys, listen.
A bunch of bullies. You're
Listen to me for a minute. Listen to me for a minute. Listen to me. Please. Please. Guys, you want to be able to talk. You want to be able to talk and get your 3 minutes, and you have every right to. Here's the problem. The minute you start yelling out, the minute you start arguing with the board president, is the minute she's going to call the meeting, and she's going to have a right to. And guess what? I'm going to get outvoted, I bet, and we're going to be out of here. And so then I can't get to hear you. Marlene can't hear you. Lee can't hear you. Marisol can't hear you. Brian can't hear you. We want to hear you. But please, I just said, let's try to show respect. And I know that people are going to make fun of me for this, but we really need to show kindness. We want our children to show kindness. We want our children not to bully, and we want our children not to argue. We're arguing over what's what. Right now, let's try to figure it out. Trust me, this has been frustrating. We were on FaceTime while we were half in bed at 11 o'clock last night, 10 o'clock last night. Ridiculous. I'm not just saying that. That's really what we were doing. So I'm telling you, please understand. We really want to hear from you. But in order to do that, we all have to try to stay calm if possible. Please. I want to hear from you guys. I really do. But just give us that.
And we understand that it's frustrating that the law keeps changing, but we can't.
There you go.
We understand that the rules keep changing, but we can't pick which rules we follow.
All right, Lee, start the comments. Let them know.
I'm making a motion.
Oh,
I need a motion and a second for the consent agenda.
motion.
Second.
No comments here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will open the floor now, public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium.
I'm here.
You
Start it. Let's go.
You should have received, oh no, we're not,
So this might.
I'm making a motion to move this meeting. That's it, that's what we should be doing. Seriously,
Lee, just let them talk. Listen.
they're not talking, this
So-
is
All
disrespectful.
right. Listen.
You think it's funny?
Just let
This is
them
not
speak.
funny.
I'm not, Lee, I'm not.
Sir, can you just let us get through the rules of the public comment? No, I know, but she needs to do it.
I will now open the floor for public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a number a card and from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president only. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. If members of the audience speak out of turn, the board will take an immediate recess until order is restored. Any specific questions asked will be answered by the appropriate party and posted to your district board docs page, which can be accessed through the district's website. If you have a specific question and would like an email follow-up, please complete the card on the podium with your name and contact information. Once complete, please provide to the district clerk. Number 1.
So this may clarify, I actually came to thank the board for the decision of no mask today. Said I actually came to thank the board today for the decision of no mask today, because to clear up some misconceptions, I work at a district in which I had to wear a mask today, and I went in livid, and I had a discussion with my union. So I had some misconceptions that maybe I can clear up for some of you in the room here as well. I don't know if everybody's aware, districts create their own reopening plans and can make them as restrictive as they like, and those plans change when, of course, when the Board of Ed decides to change them, okay? My misconceptions came as the following. I was misunderstanding the Supreme Court decision the other day, as maybe some of you in here are, and may have kind of alleviated some of the angst in the room. The decision took away Hochul's right to mandate, for the mask mandate, okay? It doesn't take away the right for the district to choose to enforce it. All right, so what that mandate did, it was actually, it deemed that it didn't declare the actual physical wearing of the masks unconstitutional. So maybe that clears up some of the misconception. So for that, I thank you, okay? Because you did not have to do that. And it was a great thing to see the kids' smiling faces this morning. And from what I understand, and through right, and from what I understand through social media, it was a large majority on one side and happy not to have the masks. So that tells me that I came a couple board meetings ago when the letter came out about the possible vaccine mandates going forward. That hey, be ready for it. And for me, I can't separate the two. So for me, that decision today kind of gave me some hope that there's some discussion and some common sense being used on this board in regards to enforcing or not enforcing some of these mandates, okay? And I know that some of those mandates are directly earmarked to state aid. I say this to the state aid if it puts my child's health, mental and physical, at risk. That's number 1, okay? So with that said, going forward, it's been conspicuously quiet regarding possible mandates from the governor's office and from it's been conspicuously quiet, and I would be very worried about that. I just hope you take into consideration going forward these facts, because they're facts. We've been lied to about COVID numbers regarding rates of positivity and death. We've been lied to regarding hospitalization rates then and now. We were lied to regarding lockdowns. We were lied to regarding COVID testing results and methods. We were lied to regarding mask effectiveness. We were lied to regarding vaccine scheduling, effectiveness, and safety. I'll get into the fact that we won't know what they used to do that for 75 years. We were lied to regarding the effectiveness of treatments such as ivermectin, monoclonal antibodies, on and on and on. We were lied to regarding mandates, and any attempt to speak out against the lies and fear-mongering, regardless of credibility, have been stifled and censored. It's unacceptable. Okay, so I can go on and on and on, but obviously it seems that you're taking some of this into consideration. And for the people at home, I suggest you, those aren't opinions, those are facts, directly from the mouths of the CDC, reneging on numbers, on the CEO of Pfizer, reneging on the effectiveness of these vaccines. So again, I have a hard time separating the two, masks and vaccines. Thank you for today. I hope you consider that going forward, regardless of decision that comes at the end of the week. Thank you.
Okay, number 1? Was it?
Good evening. I'm just going to put this down so I can talk better. It's about the committee for, I'm a bus driver. It's about the committee for the bus driving routes. And as you said so eloquently, Jackie, you should be a bus driver knowing what we go through. The routes 5 years ago were better than they are today. That I can say for most of us here. I've been here 16 years. What happened, TransFinder came in, rerouted us all so we were on the road more. We weren't sitting idle so much. But unfortunately, those runs that are smaller, because you go to one section, will get you to the school sooner. But you won't be crossing different paths. I, as one, I crossed 3 drivers in one route for one school, and that's just one school. So that's just me. The other drivers have the same issues. So that TransFinder, I don't know much about it. All I know is it's garbage. We'd love, as bus drivers, there's a few of us back there, would love to be on this committee because I'm a GPS person. I love maps. I've been in this district for 16 years. I don't live in the district, but I know it like the back of my hand. So to use these routes, paper route, it's so much better. And we have input. We can say what's better to work with. I've worked with many of our supervisors, even Joanne. I'm not knocking Joanne, she's new here. We know this district, but to committee us would be the best way for us to get in there. But like I said, 5 years ago, this was a much better way for us to do the schooling. It really was. And it got us to the school safer. We weren't nuts to get to the schools on time. We still have lots of schools that are still late. There's like 5 buses that are every day late for Ronkonkoma, and I don't know about OBM, due to the rerouting and all the other things that have to happen. So for us, it makes our job a little bit easier if we would just get rid of TransFinder and go back to where we were. And let us, we'll help you. There's lots of us here that will do it. It's just a matter of giving us an opportunity to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking up.
Okay, number 2? Huh? Oh, number 3.
That lady was one, and that lady was one.
Okay, number 3? Number 3?
Oh.
Hi, my name's Anna, and I have been a Concord school bus driver for 14 years. And it's back to the committee again. How soon will we get this going? Is this going to be, oh, we're going to have a committee next year, the year after, and then nothing gets done for us? Nobody listens to us. And we are out there. I actually got 4 extra stops put on my run, the same run I had last year, with a lot more kids, with a lot more COVID, sitting on that bus. And nothing's changed.
Mr. Hauser, can we think we can get this going this year?
I want to see it going.
Right.
Yes, I would say by the end of February, we will have this in place.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay.
Number 4? Is there a number 4? Five?
Hi, my name is Gabrielle. I'm currently a senior at the high school, and as I'm standing in front of you guys today, this is also a message to be heard by the Department of Education. I want to make it clear that there's only one justified side here. This is simply the Constitution versus scared parents. I don't care how small this school is in comparison to the United States. For as long as this building is standing on the quote-unquote land of the free, we deserve that. We own the right to make our own choices, and if you say that comes with consequences, then we own that too. Any decision made otherwise is unconstitutional. As a senior, if this puts my prom and having a normal graduation in jeopardy, then so be it. If we don't take action now, my 10-year-old sisters, along with underclassmen, are never going to see normal. Our teachers have no problem telling us how lucky and privileged we are to be Americans, and trust me, I'm a proud one, but it isn't going to be long before that sentence doesn't age well. When the Constitution starts to become an option, That's when we lose what being an American stands for. We are slowly crumbling, and I would hate for Connecticut and the public education system to take part in the falling of this nation. You may think that we have an impact, but I promise if we lead, they will eventually follow. This is our chance to take a stand, and I hope that in this case, the Constitution that I spent 12 years learning about will override your fear of being bullied into making the wrong decisions by parents living in fear instead of freedom. Thank you.
Thank you for speaking.
said.
It's so nice to hear a young person talk about being proud and being for our freedom. Thank you so much.
Number 6.
Try to get the mic close, because I got a text message from someone online. They said they can't hear. So, good evening. I think it's very fitting, Jackie, that you were talking about mental health earlier, because I'd like to discuss my dissatisfaction with Mr. Lindell and the stunt that he pulled last week.
You
Can't speak about
You can't
personnel.
mention names.
Can't speak
I'm
about
sorry.
personnel.
You cannot mention names. No, you
He
can't.
mentioned ours.
You can't, you can say, you cannot mention names.
You can discuss the situation, the article, because it's a media, but you just can't say the person's name, please.
He didn't have a problem going public about us, just saying.
Understood.
I believe that everybody has the right to the first freedom of speech. However, what he did was unprofessional and unconscionable. And his comments in the media denigrated this entire school district. The Board of Ed, the administration, the teachers, parents, and worst of all, the children. It's outlined right here in his contract that there is a specific procedure that's to be followed when you want to file a grievance. I ask, did he file this procedure, or did he just choose to go make a public spectacle of our district? I've researched the outcome of things like this in court cases pertaining to this issue, and I found that comments that touch on a matter of public concern walk a very fine line when a school is named and it becomes disruptive to a school environment. And when that line's been crossed, it is no longer considered protected speech, and therefore can be subject to disciplinary action. His comments did touch on something of public concern, but he made it personal, not only by naming the school, but blaming the very students that he's employed to support. He blamed them for giving him COVID when he had absolutely no proof of that. How can this man be entrusted with the mental health of our students when he, of all people, should know the psychological harm that's been done to them over the last couple years? Unprecedented cases of anxiety, depression, drug addiction, and suicide. And this man is supposed to be there to support them, but instead he threw them under the bus in a public forum for his own personal benefit and agenda. As a parent of a Connecticut High School student, I have several asks here today. To the board, I ask that a stipulation be added into the 2021-22 contract about educators as well as association members airing their public grievances in a public forum. Other districts have this in their contracts, and I think we need to also. To the administration, I'm not just asking, but I'm demanding an investigation into him, because he has crossed that line that I defined earlier. He's betrayed the trust of the students, the staff, and the parents, and I believe is no longer fit to the mental well-being of our children. Thank you.
Number 7.
For the past 2 years, I've been wearing masks at school all day. It made me feel self-conscious. Masks should be optional for everyone because some kids can't really breathe under masks every day. Whenever I need to take a mask break, I can't take one because other kids are around me and my teacher doesn't let me. I'm only in 4th grade and I need to wear masks every day and all day, and I'm tired of it. At snack, no kids are allowed to sit next to someone's desk or in front of the desk. One row is allowed to sit, and the other row sits on the floor. At lunch, we have stickers on the seats, and only 3 kids are allowed to sit at one table at a time. If you sit away from it, you get yelled at for not sitting by it. Today at school, when I wasn't wearing a mask, I could now see my bus driver's face, my teachers, and friends without a mask. It felt very weird without wearing a mask because I've worn them for so long. At first, I was scared and felt like I had to put one on, but then I realized that other kids didn't wear one. I had a good day, and it was nice to go to gym and be able to breathe. I no longer want to wear a mask, and I hope I can continue to go to school without one.
Good evening. My name is Craig Amarando, Connecticut resident. I have 2 students currently in the high school. So that lovely woman, she stole my thunder a little bit. I have 2 topics tonight. My first one is about the teacher that deliberately went to Newsday to smear our Connecticut community. Again, like she said, he told his own opinion. We should be shocked that Newsday would report that, but of course we're not shocked. But it's his own opinion. He purposely embarrassed our community, and this is not the first time. Every student, every teacher, every administrator that I've spoken to, and there's been many, all they say is, no way. Connecticut, we always have to wear our masks. If we have them down for a second, we get yelled at. So for him to say that, it's dishonest. He's making it up. You would think a school psychologist would promote unity and kindness to the community that he works in, but this person did the complete opposite. So, like she said, will there be consequences for this individual? All right. Well, I hope, like she said, I hope there will be consequences. I mean, it's a shame that he has the right to do that and get away with it. My next topic, of course, is the wearing of masks. We said everything, everyone said everything that basically we had to say, but I want to tell everyone a story. I'm an elementary teacher, so today was the best day of the year. I teach 4th grade, right? But of course I went to every classroom. These kids, 90 to 95% of every classroom today was unmasked. Some still chose to wear it, and that's fine. But to see their smiling faces, parents had their cameras, kids getting out of the car, taking pictures in front of the school. It was like, wow. To my kids in my class, wow, I see your smile, I see your face. It was so glorifying. Imagine taking that away from them. 90 to 95% of our classrooms in Connecticut, it was a great science experiment. They told you we spoke today. Imagine taking that away from them. 90 to 95% of the population in Connecticut. So, like we've all said, and you know I've been in that seat before, I know you make very hard decisions, but it is your decision. No matter what happens on Friday, you have the choice to say, our Connecticut students aren't wearing masks anymore. It's optional. Make it optional. You have that choice. You can do that. You have that power. You do. So that's all we're asking. Now, again, let me just finish with one more comment. Every school for the next 2 days has the right to make a decision. My district, luckily, is saying we're going to keep our masks optional until Friday's decision is made. So That's all we're asking, and Jackie, in the beginning, you thought the same thing.
Listen, I just told Linda quietly, I wish Craig was up here with me. Did I not just say that? I said, you don't realize how much we align. You have no idea.
How much what? I know, I'm seeing that. You used to protect me at those meetings. Anyway, so you have for the next 2 days, because the decision hasn't been reversed. So it should be optional for the next 2 days. And that's what you thought at the beginning of this meeting. And we all applauded, because that's all what we thought. So to go back on that would be wrong, because at the beginning of the meeting, you called for it, and we all thought that's what it was all about. So you have that option for the next 2 days. Please, just make it optional at least for the next 2 days. But again, after that, you guys have the choice to make. Don't have the guts to make the choice. You have the choice.
Okay.
Thank you very much for all you do.
Hi, everybody. You all know me. I'm Christy Scarabino. I would really like for you guys to think about one thing. We have a lawyer that we pay. Everybody here pays this lawyer, and she's only worried about protecting the staff of this school who are not protecting our children. She should be worrying about protecting our children, but instead, she's worrying about silencing us. We pay you, you know that, right? We need people here that represent the views of this community and not the views of the union. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of seeing my child come home every day because he's got post-traumatic stress from the teachers bullying him in the lunchroom, bullying him in the hallways. Put the mask on, put the mask on. The tides will turn in this political system we have here, and people will be held accountable for the damage you've done to our children. I'm tired of it, and you should not represent this community. It's terrible.
Number 10? 10? It didn't say the name.
Hi, my name is Corinne. I am the Executive Vice President.
Can you just speak into the mic? Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm from Transportation. I'm actually Executive Vice President of the Transportation Unit. And what? I'm talking into the mic. Do you hear me? Mask? I'm going to put it down. Okay. Let's have a little fun. You good with that? All right. Oh. My husband's in the audience. Okay. Sorry about that. So I just have a question. I was watching the last meeting. I had taken a look, and I did hear one thing that Bob mentioned, that you finally were able to have the high school on time, as far as the buses leaving the high school, because you know it's a trickle-down effect to the other schools. So I just want to know, do you think that's acceptable after 5 months to finally get that down pat? Because we've never had those problems in all these years. And drivers are late for the RMS school, they're late for OBM. It's creating a situation. The runs are chaotic, they're unsafe. And, you know, to be honest with you, you have these wonderful drivers back here. Most have lived in the district. I grew up in the district. I can close my eyes, the geography. I could just imprint it in my brain and kind of, you know, like the drivers do, the left and rights, and help out. So we really are interested in getting this committee going. Pardon me. So February, do you think that's something that we could definitely do? The beginning of February? Okay, and where is that going to go through? Who's going to make the decisions as far as who's on the committee? You going to work with Joanne? Okay, would I be able to have a private meeting with you and Reza, please? Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem? Okay, thank you.
Are you on the, was she the vice president? What did she say she was? If you're the executive vice president, I had asked, part of my asking for a committee was, I want to see the representation for your union on that committee. So just so you guys know, that was something that we absolutely requested. So your president, your executive board, I'd really like to see all of them, if they can, be on the committee.
Number 10? Number 11? 12?
Hi, guys. Thank you for hearing me. I was curious if any survey was ever sent out to the parents to ask how they feel about the mask mandate and about parental choice. It's kind of important.
Well, wait a second. I wanted a survey to go out to every parent, because that to me it's called transparency.
Yes.
But it didn't happen. But that's what I wanted.
Love that.
So
And
I can't do it by myself. I need a board to say yes.
but like
Yes, I
no
would like to
trick
see a survey.
questions, just
I would
a
like to see a
basic
survey
survey.
go out to the community.
And with survey and mental health, maybe another survey should go out asking how the families are doing and how the children are doing throughout the school year. It's an important subject and might not be fun to coordinate and send out, but it is important.
I
for
don't know,
mental
I
health.
don't know enough about that part of it. I understand what you're saying, but I do understand that I really wanted feedback from the entire community on this issue, because
Thank you.
it's important. I always felt it was. Anyway,
And if the mask mandate is reinstated, or if it is, the mask breaks have to come back. Taking them away was really inhumane. It was not right. It was cruel. No mask, but my son he's 11, he's a rule follower. He will follow rules. He's not confrontational. I wish he would be, but he's not. And also, one last thing without throwing any person under the bus, but no individual should be making announcements over the loudspeaker saying, even though you do have the right not to wear a mask, that you should to protect the health of others. That's wrong. That's not right. And that's it. Thank you.
number 13?
Good evening, everybody. My name's Paul Rondinella. I've been a teacher in this district.
Wait 1 second.
We have
sir.
somebody at the podium.
I've been a teacher in this district for over 20 years. I've had several of you children. When I told people that I was coming here, they said, make sure you tell them there's 40 or 50 of us that you're speaking for. Was anybody able to get to the elementary schools at all today during bus time arrival or anything? If you would have seen these kids' faces, I have bus duty in the morning. I saw their teeth through the windows. They could not get the smiles off their face. It brought tears to my eyes, all of them. And then as they came in school, they were looking at me, and they were like, Mr. Rondinella, look, I don't have a mask on, I don't have a mask on. I said, well, that's your choice. If that's your choice, that's a great choice. And if someone wants to keep it on, that's a great choice for them. So I came here, I sat here for over 2 hours, because all this other stuff, usually goes over my head. I sat here for over 2 hours to thank you for letting them be maskless today. I do believe you do have the power to keep it maskless, choice. You do have that power, but I speak for at least 30, 40 people that I know, and I speak for most of the Sycamore Avenue children who, by the end of the day, I think maybe 5 of them still had a mask on. So I thank you for letting them take their masks off today.
Lisa,
Number
I gotta ask this because I'm sorry to bother public comment, but I gotta ask. What happens, and just what happens if we did decide to go choice for the next 2 days? What's the worst thing they could do to us? Guys, let her answer, please. I gotta understand this, because what I got from other attorneys that I spoke to today too was the same as what Lisa's saying. She really has been great to me when I've had a lot of questions, so I appreciate it.
Really, it's just about funding that, or fines that they may implement against the district. So it's, and then with regard to the rules, based on what the Department of Health is saying, legislation that exists, to the extent the state education department is saying that masks are a mandate and you don't follow the rule, that could subject the individual board members to violation of a rule promulgated by the state and board removal. I mean, that's the highest level of what could happen, in addition to potential fines, funding, things of that nature that could be jeopardized.
Fourteen? Don't call it.
If I called for a vote, would you guys vote? Is what I'm asking you.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session. In order to obtain legal counsel.
Wait, could you listen to me? Do you guys want to let them speak and then we'll do it?
Yes.
All right? Because, give them, guys, listen, listen, I'm trying to get to the answer of what the law is, black and white. And I'm trying to find out what can be done.
Why can't the lawyer answer the question?
She is, but we need to speak to her in executive to have conversations with the other board members. As a courtesy, I'm saying we shouldn't go into executive, but the reality is I could be outvoted right now by 3 members. And we can have, but if there's young children in the audience who would like to speak, I would like to allow them to speak so they can go home and go to bed for school tomorrow.
My daughter came home from school today, and she said to me, Mom, you know that feeling the week before Christmas? You know that feeling when everything is exciting? She said, that's what today felt like. You know that feeling? You know, when I wear my pajamas to school and we're excited about Christmas? She was so frigging excited today. She was so excited. And my kid is such a rule follower that last night she said to me, Mom, I'm still going to wear my mask. I'm going to do it because my teacher told me, and I'm not going to mention a name, I could kill someone by not wearing my mask. Kill by a teacher. She woke up this morning and said, Mom, I really thought about it, and I don't want to wear my mask. And I said, Peyton, I support you. If you want to wear it, and if you don't, I support you either way. I love you either way. And I said, when you see your friends wearing a mask and you choose not to, then be kind. Don't belittle them. Don't. Because you know what? They're making their choice, and that's what America is about. Choice. It's choice. You know? I don't care if you have a mask. I don't care if you have a vaccine. I don't care what you do. But we live in America, and we should have the choice. And the fact that my kid was given so much fear from a teacher saying she could kill someone where she literally stayed up all night wondering what she should do. I said to her, Peyton, babe, if you want to wear the mask, wear the mask. Wear the mask. And she's like, you know what? I think I'm not going to do it. And I said, you know what? I'm proud of you, but I'm proud of you the other way too. But you know what? It's freaking America. Just let there be choice. Let there be choice, and let us all support everyone. We should all support everyone. That's it. And Jackie and Mylan, thank you so much for all of your support. I know you don't know me, Christine Drago, Facebook, whatever, but I love you guys, and I really appreciate all that you do. But it's a choice. All right? Thank you.
Number 13? 14? 15? 15?
Hi, we're new to the district. We just moved in August. Can't even talk. Today was the first time my child saw her classmates' faces and her teacher's face or her principal's face. She's new to the district. She knows nobody. We saw somebody outside of school one day without a mask on. And they said to her, "Aren't you Delaney?" And she said, "Yes." She's like, "I sit next to you in class." She had no idea who he was. She's new to the district. She got off the bus today, and I said, "Puppy, how was your first day? How was school today?" And you said, you can say it.
It was amazing.
You actually said it was the best day ever.
About the mask, I want this mask to stop because all these kids are getting yelled at because my friend Nicholas, he is getting yelled at, and I feel bad for him. We can't wear these masks anymore because that's how we can get more sick. The masks are not keeping us safe. They're making people sick more. We need to stop wearing masks. Thank you. Have a good night.
Number 16?
Hello, my name's Christine. How are you? I just have to say, if this hasn't touched your hearts and make you realize what's going on is absolutely 100% wrong, then there's a major problem. These kids are suffering for the last 3 years, struggling to get through school. My son's struggling with asthma, with wearing the masks. If anybody's ever done it, I don't know, but if you put a CO detector in there, they're breathing in their own CO2, okay? He comes home with headaches, nausea, exhaustion. The trauma that these kids have gone through, for these kids to say they can't even recognize another child or a person, it's insane. It's damaging our children. It is affecting them physically, emotionally, mentally, socially. And the other thing, I just hope you guys find it in your heart to actually make a stand and say enough is enough. be the people that show other school districts, other people, we're not gonna stand for this. We're gonna do what we know is right to do. That's one. Number two, the other proof of this whole mask thing with someone going to the news. If this person wore their mask all the time, then how they can track COVID from the students? I'm just curious. Because the masks don't work. Okay, so, and you sit here and turn around and blame the students. My other question is, he says that they should have consequences. Well, I have several parents and students that would like to know if there's going to be any consequences that he's videotaping and taking pictures of these children without their permission or knowledge. That is illegal. So I think you guys really need to dig further into all of this, and I will definitely make sure I stay on top of this because I'd like to know what the outcome is going to be of this. Okay, just so that you know. Because taking pictures of children without their knowledge, yeah, that's almost like a pedophilia level. Just saying. So, on the other hand, again, I just want to say thank you again for letting them go today without wearing their masks. It was great. My son came home for the first time looking good, feeling good, and he's like, Mom, I could breathe today. And it was just a great thing to see. And honestly, you said about the funding. It's 2 days right now we're asking for. Do you really think they're going to find out or know anything in 2 days? That you just tell them, just listen, go these 2 days till we know what's going on, don't wear a mask? I mean, come on. Seriously, think about it. Have a heart. Have a heart.
Number 18? Number 19? 18's coming?
Hello, everyone. I just want to ask a couple of questions. I heard a board member had went to someone's job and tried to find out some questions and find out information. I want to know what's being done about this. If you do anything about it, or is something that a board member just has the power to do to try to intimidate people. It's a little ridiculous what's going on in this district. I'm going to ask you, Linda, has anything been done about this? About a board member going to somebody's job and finding out, trying to intimidate and find out. It just was on Facebook just a little while ago. The person's here. Jackie. That makes it true. Okay, what's being done about stuff like this? It also happened in the past, and I'll mention. It happened in the past. It happened to me, but I didn't want to bring that up. But what's being done? Anything? So I really think this is embarrassing what's going on. I know nobody wants to sit there and say anything. You all stay quiet now and you hide behind a lawyer. Our lawyer, which we pay for, you look for them to make up excuses for why you don't have to do things to protect the people of this district. And they, as long as they're getting paid, let me tell you how this works. They will sit here and give you all the information you need to protect you because they're getting paid going to the bank and you're spending our money. And that's what keeps going on. Because I've talked to some of our lawyers, because I was on the board at one time, and they know what's going on. It's time we start to do the right thing in this district. You can't protect everybody, Linda, and hide. I know last week, or I think the week before, there was a virtual day. And it was told that they were going to have virtual day on Friday. Am I correct about that? Can you answer me? Thank you. Last Friday, the snow day. I heard the bus drivers were not told about it until they were said they had to come in on Friday. Even though it was considered virtual day, they were told they got to come in on Friday. For what reason? Slow the clock when they don't answer me, please. I know you work for them, and I know what you do. Okay? Why were they told they didn't have to come in? But they had to come in, even though you considered it a virtual day. What were you going to do with them? Then you call that morning and say, okay, it's snow conditions, take the day. Why don't you let them know the night before like you do everybody else? You treat bus drivers a little crappy. And I was on the board, and one of the board members didn't like that I had a voice for them. We all know who that is. Public knowledge. I asked you guys about a coaching position, and I wanted to know people didn't have proper certification. I wanted to know who was it and stuff like that. Your answer was to me, because your lawyer must have gave it, was I can't give you that because of some kind of rule, law 787, whatever it is. It's a bullshit excuse, okay? Give the answer. You know what you're doing. You're protecting people, okay? You're protecting people. You hired people for a position that I had, and you told me in the report, which I told you to make public knowledge, let people know what happened. Because you had a board member up there telling everybody that I was bad, I was this. I'm not bad. I'm telling the facts. So tell the facts. Why are you protecting? First of all, it's public knowledge for us as a school district to know and make sure that all coaches have proper certification. You don't want to give it to me based on me asking for 2016 to 2018. You're saying you can't find it, Linda. What do you mean you can't find it? You call it, I forget what it's called, but you can find out. How do you hire people? You hire people, and you have to find out if they have the proper certification. I don't understand what you're doing here. I asked to speak to every single board member in private. I'm hoping you give me that. I have recordings, I have emails, and everything. You guys want to do the right thing for the people, start to do it. Don't be intimidated. Okay? Why don't you ask? Now, you know, I friended 2 new board members. They didn't even pay attention to me because somebody must have got a hold of them and said I was a bad guy or something. I'll meet with anybody, talk to you in person, no problem. Lee, you put on Facebook and people thought I gave raises to bus company. You know, you gave a stipend and you guys just gave something to the bus drivers. You said if they were there, if they have a perfect attendance, you're going to give them $600. But they had to have perfect attendance. You know, that's like throwing a crumb. Meanwhile, Linda, you'll come up to us 4 times and give a stipend to an administrator for $15,000. A stipend for $15,000. You're spending our money like you want to spend it. And you don't like to hear it. And you're looking at each other, look at the lawyer, look at the board members. You just want, look at each other. It's the truth. You've done it a million times. I've been on the board. We've said no to something, and you've come back and said, but we need this person, but we need you. Oh, Jackie, is it true? Mylin, is it true? We've said no, and she come back and said, we need to redo this.
It was,
We stopped, we hired somebody at 190. You don't like that I tell the truth, Lee? Stop the, whatever. I will talk to you anytime you want, face to face.
okay, Mark, we let you go way over your time, okay?
Yes, I understand, Lee.
Okay, thank you.
Lee, I came up here, spoke like a gentleman. I hope you give me the right to come to speak to you guys in private if I want. And you hear the
Mark, we can absolutely discuss meeting if you'd like to speak to the board. I have no problem with that.
I've been trying to speak.
I'll speak to the other board members. I'll speak to the other board members, and I'm sure that they'll have no problem if you have something that's of importance that you want to speak to us about. I'm sure that we can get the 3 votes to have you speak.
I'm a yes.
There you go. Yes. Mylin, you're a yes? There's 3. You got 3.
Thank you.
18, 19,
24 numbers.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak again. So before the Supreme Court ruling, the Massapequa School District took a stand for the kids against the masks. Who cares about the Supreme Court ruling at this point? Why can't we take that same stand that Massapequa is? That's all we're asking for. Instead,
Exactly what Massapequa are doing.
Instead, we have a board president going around town saying that you're getting bullied by parents that don't care about their children. I take exception to that. I care about my daughter very much, and I want to protect her from this nonsense. And I'm protecting her so much that I'm actually leaving the state. It's not like this everywhere else. It's like that here. It's not like this in every state. You can actually see kids smile. It's just like that here where you can't see that. But I'm looking for this district to take a stand like Massapequa. That's what I'm looking for.
Brian, do you want to respond to that?
I believe the stand that Massapequa took is when the mask mandate is lifted, they will make mask optional.
Yes.
What we agreed to today is exactly what Massapequa agreed to. Massapequa's not.
Plain Edge did it, Massapequa did it, all the districts are doing the same exact
They're
thing.
stating that February 12th or 15th, whatever it is, that it will be parental choice.
21st.
3 of us on this board do not want masks.
Understood.
I don't think any of you guys know that here because we don't speak up all the time. But all right, so
I gotta give credit where credit's due. During the FaceTime the other night, Brian came out of the box, and I even texted him privately and said, I really like this feisty Brian. I really like this. He is very much for parental choice. And so is Marisol, and really, Mylene, you're for parental choice too. And I have to be honest, I have to give Lee credit too, because the other night we all said it. We would do what's best and follow the law.
I understood. I completely understand that. But before the Supreme Court ruling, Massapequa took the stand, and that's the only thing that I'm mentioning. Massapequa just took the stand to make masks parental choice. That's all we're asking.
not tomorrow.
I'm sorry?
Not tomorrow. They said.
Not tomorrow.
Right.
N-
Okay.
Not tomorrow.
So we are right now. We are in line with what Massapequa has done. Correct. We are lockstep as Massapequa.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
Massapequa said, pending the mask mandate being lifted, they will make mask optional. That's what Massapequa said. Plain Edge said the same thing. We just said the same thing tonight.
We said it before tonight. No. We said it, we follow the 21st. Something I want. Number 20. I'm not going to go into what I want. Number 20. Number 20. I have an agenda. I just want our children to be safe. I do not want anyone to die. And I want a survey. You're not. A survey to the community.
Number 20.
We have a speaker. Please be respectful, please.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Connecticut Central School District Board of Education trustee to the best of my ability. Does that sound familiar to maybe not anybody out there, but any of you? Well, maybe the wording is a little bit off, but that's the oath that you all took. Notice the oath is to the Constitution of the United States, as well as the Constitution of New York. It's not to Kathy Hochul, not to the Department of Health, not to the Department of Education, not to Bassett, all of those people. It is to, yes, it is to our Constitution. I was going to give a constitutional lesson, but other things to talk about. However, I do want to state, look into it. You are violating Article 1, Section 2 of the New York State Constitution that wants equal protection to everybody. Article 1, Section 1 of the United States Constitution, which states that all the powers are come from the legislative branch, okay? That's where they come from, not the executive, not HOCO. In Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, that no state shall make or enforce any law that basically hurts people, to put it in simple terms. Not allowed to do that. So we are protected, and you took an oath to that. Now, I do have a question for legal. I do not know if you're able to answer it. But as far as the Department of Health and Department of Education, we're always told that funding can be removed. But according to Chris Venatar, who is from Ingram Smith, and he spoke at the Locust Valley meeting, he was asked this question about a precedent that if the Department of Health, if a Department of Health regulation was violated, can the Department of Education remove funding? There was no precedent for that. They are two separate agencies. Can you answer that?
Only if the board wants me to.
Yes, that's fine.
Yes, please, if you could answer the question, everybody, come on.
Yes, it's my understanding that if there is a violation of the rule that's been promulgated, you can be subject to a fine. Yes, the rule, that's what I had stated previously. It's a rule that stems from what the Department of Health says is a public health law. And that's what the disagreement is about. With regard to funding, there could be, through the Department of Education, a determination that some type of funding could be jeopardized. Of course, I'd have to do more research on it. That's why I asked the Board of Education if they wanted me to respond. But unfortunately, I don't have the full answer now, but I would certainly provide the Board of Education with research on this issue if they'd like me to look into it further.
Yes, please.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. As two separate agencies, there was no precedent, and that was stated by Chris Venatar from Ingram Smith, so maybe you want to ask him or reach out to him. Something else that I want to, quickly say to you and everybody else why it is so important to fight is because there are permanent regulations right now that have been put into the New York State Register. 4 different regulations. I have been posting them all over the place. It is a way for the Department of Health and for Kathy Hochul to circumvent our legislative process because everything she has done from August is not going through SAPA, the State Administrative Procedure Act. She's not going through that. She's been violating, and one order after another. Now they submitted something on December 15th. They changed the wording to proposed regulation. And these are regulations that will basically, if they are passed on around the time of Valentine's Day, they will hold the weight of the law. This is very scary because it completely goes past our legislature. That's extremely important for people to know that, what we are up against. And as far as the oath that you take, I think it's very important that what you should actually do, and I understand that right now we are in line with what Massapequa did, and we're going to, do it when it expires. But you, as I said, you took an oath to the Constitution. And right now, those mandates are illegal. Everything about them is illegal. They trample on our constitutional rights. And you are supposed to uphold those rights for us. So I absolutely think you should all vote tonight and send them to school. Call her bluff. Call the bluff. Send them to school without a mask. Call Hochul's bluff. She cannot do anything. She has been trying to enforce Section 3 of this December 10th Regulation 2.60. She's been trying to enforce that one, but she won't enforce Section 7, which allows people to unmask. She said it. I can't make the counties do it. I said they're not doing it. So you're not enforcing Section 7, but she wants to enforce Section 3, which is on our children. That doesn't make sense. If the law is the law is the law, whether we like it or not. But you cannot pick and choose what you want to enforce. If she's not enforcing that, then I guarantee you there is no way she can enforce the rest of it. Let the kids go to school without masks. Vote for choice. Those kids were thrilled today. They were happy. They saw their friends. Don't take that away from them. Do not do that to them. Thank you.
Okay. Number 21.
Forgive me, I'm not a great speaker in public, and I wasn't planning on speaking today. I will say this is my first meeting. I'm a single mom raising 3 boys, and I don't have time to get out of the house. It's quite an effort, but I have to say that the people in this community are wonderful, as we can hear, but I'm embarrassed and disgusted at the behavior of one of the members on this board tonight. Seeing in person how, I'm sorry, I don't know you personally, Miss Lee Kennedy, your name is right there. Coming in as an observer for the first time to see how you're treating this community, I'm appalled at how you spoke to everybody and your attitude. I know what you do up here is not easy. Nobody has easy jobs, especially the bus drivers. Let's give them a hand again because I understand that. I also work in a school system. I am also an educated person, but you do not sit on a throne. You are here to represent the people, and the people are speaking. And the way you have spoken to people and acted tonight is completely disgusting, and I have no idea how you could possibly be voted in if this is how you treat the community. Jackie, you are wonderful. I've known you for years, and I thank you for all that you do. Can't speak for anybody else. Everybody else seems appropriate right now. But this community needs to get together, and some people need to be off of this board. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, really, put that into everybody's minds. Somebody who's never come to a meeting, and this is my first impression, I am disgusted, absolutely disgusted. And the children should be unmasked. I don't know how many times people have to say it. This is America. I guess we all forget how we grew up. You didn't have anything taped to your face and were made to do it. Can we throw the politics out for a while? Because it's honestly getting disgusting. We have created wars amongst families and friends and neighborhoods and schools. It has not been like this. It needs to stop. You need to stand up and make a decision and let these children breathe. Stop. And ladies and gentlemen, get your friends out to vote, because somebody coming here and seeing this for the first time, there is somebody who definitely does not need to be on this board.
Number 22. (22) 23? Okay.
Brian, I'm glad you have your Constitution. I hope you all still have your Constitution and read it. I just want to say my son is in kindergarten. He couldn't wait to come home to tell me that his principal went to his classroom to say, guys, it is your choice. I don't know. That is very hard for a 5-year-old to even comprehend. I'm sorry, he just turned 6. Super happy about it. He could see all his friends' faces, and he couldn't wait to tell me. This is, again, a child who I put him through speech services. He is now regressing now because of the mask being on him, so something we'll have to work towards. And my preschooler, who is going into kindergarten supposedly next year, I just have a question. A letter got sent home a few weeks ago, and it asked me for the pre-registration for my soon-to-be kindergartner if I was planning on moving out of the school district next year. What is that all about? Are you guys like trying to figure out, I mean, that just seems like such an odd question to ask on a small survey going home if I was planning on moving out of the school district. Okay, nobody knows. Fantastic, usually. The other question that, apparently not. Jackie, I think you said it before. What do you have to lose? What do any of you have to lose if you were to just vote and listen to the parents behind you? And to the lawyer too, you don't have anything to lose. The only thing you have to gain is a room full of parents that will absolutely stand behind you 110%, even if the state does try to come after you. You protect us and our children, we protect you. That's how communities work. It's very simple.
23? 23? 24?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian. I've been here for over 50 years in this community. Shout out to the bus drivers. My mother was a bus driver. You guys rock, unbelievable. Although I denied the free rides to school in the morning because I didn't want to be seen getting out of the small bus. There was something about it back then. I don't know. It's different now. I mean, this has gone on really far too long, and I was going to ask the lawyer about the legislation, the law that they're trying to pin this to. But at this point, it's irrelevant because it doesn't matter, because a mandate is not law, okay? The bottom line here is, guys, is that you all can make the decision. No matter what they say, okay, Friday or not, okay, we don't need to be wearing these masks anymore. You can see the damage that it's doing to the community. That little girl that was up here that said that her friend didn't recognize her outside of school because of the mask. Some of us should be ashamed of ourselves on this board. That's insane. I mean, are you people real? These people are real, okay? And they have a voice. They're telling you what they want. You're not listening. That is the problem. This is the United States of America. It's a free country. It should be a choice. It's constitutional. Some of you should read it. That's all I have.
Okay, 24? 24? You were 24? We're done, okay. At this motion time, okay, 25? You said he was 24.
Hello, my name is Peyton Muller, and I'm in 5th grade. Today I went to school with kids' smiles glued to their faces for once. And today was one of the greatest days because me and my friends were not yelled at for wearing the masks. And there is no point of wearing the mask because it is like putting a shirt over your nose and mouth. But wearing the mask is scaring kids even more. Plus I see preschoolers wearing the mask, and I thought, what has this world come to? Because today I had one thing to smile for, but tonight, finding out that we have to wear masks again breaks our hearts as kids. We thought we had freedom for once, and wearing the masks is not good for kids' mental health. Plus, I thought you wanted to keep the kids safe. So in my opinion, you should make the mask optional. Thank you for your time, and please consider our feelings.
Anyone else that would like to speak?
Okay, I'm not a good speaker, so I'll do the best. What I have to say is just personally about my own experience. I have 4 kids, high school, middle school, and elementary. What I've experienced for the past 2 years for just them, and I know they're not alone. I had a child that was almost suicidal. I had a child that has regressed so significantly in high school in her IEP that her dream of going to college is almost, it's scary where we're at. And then I have 2 little ones where one graduated out of speech and made so much progress to be told over and over, week after week, to get 40s on her tests, over and over and over again, when she is such an eager student that it's killing her spirit. And a 1st grader who has asthma it's documented. Sent home about every 10 days for a COVID test, always been negative. I'm a nurse. I would never send my kid to school if I thought they had COVID, that's first. And he's literally scared to have to go to school if he has a little cough. But meanwhile, he's breathing through a wet mask because that's what, especially little boys, they sit there and they suck on them. You bring them home, you could basically wring them out. Paper cloth, it doesn't matter. If any of those things, that's a various different reasons for what it's doing to their mental health. And it's only getting worse day by day. And the flip-flopping, and then they go out and they could go play soccer or they could go play basketball unmasked. The next day, they have to go to the same group of kids and they have to wear their masks. Or they could, do any of the various things where it doesn't logically make sense to us. Imagine what it means to them. And I had my 6- and 7-year-old that came home today, and my one child has never experienced normal school. Never one, not at all. These first grade and kindergartners don't even understand like class parties, school shows, all of these things that are what they remember, and it's really, truly heartbreaking. My last point is more so to everybody else. I understand how hard it is for the board. You guys are being threatened with lawsuits, civil this, civil that, and it's not so easy just to jump on and make a decision. I get that, and so for that, thank you for all you do.
Is there anyone else that'd like to come up?
How's everybody doing? Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time for us. I think this is great when you have a community that comes out and, they're voicing their opinion. Like a gentleman said earlier, I hope you're listening. Because at the end of the day, we have little kids coming here today voicing how much fun today was, how it was great to actually see somebody that they haven't seen, that's been sitting next to them for God knows how long, for all year. Like, think about this. Think about what you're doing to these children. At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's not about your funding, about, we may lose a couple of dollars here or there, or they may come after us. That doesn't matter. Like they said earlier, we have your back. Start to have our back. That's what this is all about. It's about the children and about taking care of this community. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's about the children. I'm going to keep saying it. It's all about the children. We talk about the Constitution. You guys held up. You guys are supposed to be abiding by that. It's not happening, right? I talked to several of the parents in this community that went to different schools, OBMS, RMS, Cherokee, high school. How many kids, and I just was asking for my own opinion, what was the percentage of kids that were wearing masks, that weren't wearing masks? And it was 80% of the kids weren't wearing masks. Now, maybe some of those kids took their mask off when they went on the bus. But I guarantee most of those parents said, you know what, it's your choice. It's your decision. It's a family choice. That's what this should still be. This is a choice that these kids are going to make and the parents are going to make, not the board. It's not about your money. Oh, we may lose a couple of dollars here or there. Who cares? Who gives a crap? It's not about that. It's about these children, about making sure that we're doing the right thing by them. Do the right thing. This shouldn't even be a discussion anymore. If you want to wear a mask, if you're a teacher, you want to wear a mask, if you're a child, you want to wear a mask, wear your mask. If it's a family decision, wear your mask. I don't care. You want to get vaccinated? Get vaccinated. I don't care. That's your choice. But if you're wearing a mask, what you're telling us is you're safe. You're not going to get anything from us. And that psychologist, let me tell you something. You all should be ashamed of yourself if you let that man even come near one of these children. Ashamed of yourselves. Ashamed of yourselves. And I swear on everything, my children, everything. I will find out, along with, I'm sure, several of these parents, to find out exactly what happened. And if he took pictures of children and videos, then guess what? If you don't do anything, we're going to come after you guys. We're going to start pressing lawsuits because I'm going to find out who that parent is of that child, and I'm going to find a lawyer for him. I'm going to sue the crap out of you guys because that is ridiculous if you don't do anything about that child. That is awful. That is ridiculous. Do the right thing right now. You want to go to an executive meeting? Why? Do it right now. Do it in front of us because we want to know where your stance is. Because guess what? It's all about transparency, like they say. Do it now. Do it in front of us. There's no need to hide. No need to hide at all. We can do this right here, right now. I got fingers, 3 here, 4 there, who cares? Let's know, because right now, we all want to know. You talk about concerned parents, we're here. They're on the computer, whatever. I don't care. We're here. We don't have masks on. We're not scared. Guess what? Our children aren't scared either. This is life now. Get over it. Everybody's going to catch a common cold now. Everybody doesn't get COVID, right? You get sniffles, you get a cough. Get the flu. Where'd the flu go? Who the hell knows where the flu went, right? Come on. This is ridiculous. Transparency. This is for the children. Listen to those little kids that came up here. They don't want to wear the masks. This is ridiculous. Do a vote in front of us. Let's get this over with. Let's knock this out and be an option for next week. For this week.
Hello, everybody. I just want to say thank you. Today was the best day with all the kids' smiles. I would like to say thank you guys. This was the best Board of Ed meeting I have been to in a long time. And I hope you guys get to the psychologist because there will be repercussions. I want to thank you all. Do the right things. Peace, love, and happiness. And this is America. Thank you.
Good evening. It's actually my first meeting, and if I'd known it was like this, I probably would have brought some popcorn. But Linda Adams, I did email you, and thank you for today. My son, my 8-year-old son, he was actually hospitalized 2 weeks ago over the weekend for the mask. Yes, you all heard that right. He was hospitalized for the mask. His teacher is very strict with it and really does not give mask breaks, that he came home earlier in the week with indents on the back of his ears. He had a little cut, and by Thursday night, he had his swollen lymph node. And that was the day that we had the big snowstorm, so Thursday night we took him to urgent care, which confirmed, yes, his lymph node was swollen, and they put him on medication. It actually got worse, and by Saturday morning, I brought him to his pediatrician, who sent me directly to the ER, where we had IV meds for the weekend. So yes, these masks are really hurting the kids. Not only mentally, but medically, they are affecting them. So I ask that please give a choice, because I couldn't see my son with an IV again. Thank you.
Hi, Anna again from Transportation. I just have two things. One, I drive for Sycamore and the middle school. And when I tell you those kids' faces today on the bus, the noise was deafening, by the way, because the talking was blah, 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 blah. They couldn't wait to talk louder and louder because they didn't have to muffle themselves. Number two, about the masks. As drivers, it puts us in a dangerous situation. And I'll tell you why. Because we have been told over and over again, check your mirrors, make sure they have their masks on. Well, when I'm doing that, my eyes are leaving the road. That's not for me to do. My job is to get them from point A to point B safely. But that's not what they were telling us to do. They were telling us, check the mirrors, enforce the mask. I would, not to be mean, but I was hired to drive and keep them safe, not enforce the mask mandate. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous that we were put in that position. And we were put. We didn't ask for it. We didn't get an opinion because there was no committee. We were put in that position. That's all. Just again, they were so happy. So happy.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to make a motion and a second to move into executive session.
Motion.
All in favor? Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming.